Chapter 35:28. The old man was the minister of war of the Copper Pillar country, Yuzhong. When he heard the king's order, he calmly looked at the jade in his hand. He coughed and said, "I have analyzed the situation of the four countries. The countries of Gu and Yifeng were founded by Confucian cultivators. Jiming was founded by Taoist cultivators, and Jiasa was recently supported by Buddhist cultivators. Just from a surface, our Copper Pillar country should attack Jiming and Jiasa. The Jiasa is very close to our Copper Pillar country and isn't very strong. However, General Hao Hu's meaning is that the Yifeng country is controlled by the Yu family, a 7th-ranked aristocratic family. The Gu country is the territory of the Gu family, a 7th-ranked aristocratic family. The aristocratic families below the 7th rank do not have any deterrent power in front of my Bronze Pillar country. Especially, the Confucian schools of these two countries are. The agricultural school does not have much weight among the Confucian cultivators, and the national strength of the two countries is not much stronger than the Jiasa country. Although the Jiasa country is controlled by Buddhist cultivators and does not seem to be strong, the Buddha statues are now spread all over the hidden immortal continent, and I have never heard of the Buddha country being destroyed by someone. If my Bronze Pillar country is not careful, I am afraid that the Buddhist sect will take revenge on me. My king also knows that those monks are the most sinister, and they also care about face. If my Bronze Pillar country is not careful, I might be besieged by several Buddhist countries. King, please make a decision. What about the Jiming country?" Seeing that Yuzhong did not mention the Jiming country, the king could not help but ask with interest. Yuzhong hesitated for a moment, then said respectfully, "My king, this old subject and the others feel that although it is easy to destroy the country of Jiang, the remnants of the Tao sect are too stubborn. Today, the imperial advisor still has to bring many disciples to the Black Cloud Ridge. The Bronze Pillar country, might as well leave such a hard bone to gnaw on in the future." General Hao Hu, General Wenfeng, do you all think the same? No one had seen the expression on the monarch's face before. They only heard him ask indifferently. The two tiger generals in the middle immediately stepped out from the row of military generals opposite the civil official. They cupped their fists and bowed. "My king, we originally thought that if we attack the country of Confucian cultivators, the aristocratic families of Confucian cultivators would be dissatisfied. Therefore, we might as well attack the countries controlled by the Buddhist sect and Tao sect first. The Buddhist sect has always been united. Moreover, the Buddhist sect's forces have recently invaded the Zhongxian mainland. Now that the longevity town in the country of Shi is the focus of everyone, and it is so close to the Bronze Pillar country, we shouldn't cause any more trouble. However, the fact that Jiang Tianheng, Pan Xing, Su Kuan, and the others were killed by Dao League cultivators in Black Cloud Ridge without anyone noticing was truly out of our expectations. What's more, Imperial Advisor Lung has come to the Black Cloud Ridge in person, and the result of the battle is still unknown. We don't know the strength of the remaining Taoists. We don't know if the Jiming country has anything to do with this. Therefore, we suggest that we attack the Confucian country first and leave the Taoist country behind." Your thoughts are very considerate. I'm very pleased." The emperor seemed to be very happy and said with a smile. Then he raised his hand and said, "Prime Minister, you should sit down too. The principle of the country has passed, but the affection of the family has come. If you don't sit down, I'll feel like walking on pins and needles. Thank you, my king, for granting me a seat." The old man in front of the civil official bowed slightly and sat down calmly. The civil official behind him looked respectful. When the old man sat down, the emperor asked again, "Prime Minister, what do you think? I'm already old and no longer have the ability to eat. My king cherishes old friendships and allows me to take a breather here. I'm very grateful. I still need my king to make a decision on the movement of this country." The old man was very humble. After talking for a long time, he didn't even have the slightest idea. However, the emperor said regretfully, "Alas, you're all so old. When I was still a child, you were the one in charge of the imperial court. At that time, you were my sky. I'm ashamed, I don't dare. When the old man heard this, he hurriedly stood up. Back then, my king was still young, and Zhang country and Jiasa country were eyeing him covetously. This old subject did not dare to relax in the slightest. My king is the ruler of the ages. A single thought is 100 times better than this old subject. This old subject will persevere for a few more days. Then I will ask my king to retire and return to my hometown. At that time, I will have to ask my king for permission. Prime Minister, please sit. When the king saw this, he hurriedly raised his hand and said, Prime Minister is the bronze pillar of my bronze pillar country. How can you easily leave the imperial court? Don't mention returning to your hometown in the future. Sigh. The old man sighed and sat on the brocade chair while trembling, looking somewhat dejected. However, just as he sat down, his eyes, which seemed to be blurred by old age, casually glanced at the dragon table in front of the king. Surprise suddenly appeared in his eyes, and his but almost touched the brocade chair as he stood up again, exclaiming, My king! Then, the 5-dragon jade seal. Why is it gone? When the old man said this, all the officials were shocked and looked at the dragon table. Indeed, the jade seal that was usually placed on the dragon table had disappeared without a trace. Prime Minister, don't be anxious. Everyone, don't panic. I originally wanted to wait for the imperial tutor's triumphant return before telling all of you about this. I didn't expect Prime Minister to notice this. Lung Chinga. Prime Minister looked a little angry and said sternly, How did this fellow bewitch my king? However, just as Prime Minister finished speaking, he immediately realized that his words were inappropriate. He hurriedly bowed and said, Forgive me, my king. This old subject has offended you. Prime Minister, you are wholeheartedly devoted to the country and see me as your nephew. How can I not understand your concern? How can I blame you? The king was not angry. He smiled and said, Prime Minister, please take a seat. This matter has nothing to do with imperial tutor law. When the old man sat down, the king said, Everyone, you don't have to worry about the remnants of the Black Cloud Ridge anymore. The imperial tutor has already brought the disciples of the Imperial Academy, Ling Yuanya, Shallow Moon Ridge, and the Jiang family to the Black Cloud Ridge to set up a great formation. This great formation, even a peak 5th grade elemental energy cannot escape. Furthermore, the Imperial Tutor has obtained a secret technique to use the fate of the Bronze Pillar Nation to suppress the Taoist cultivators. This secret technique is foolproof. The Imperial Tutor will return triumphantly. From then on, the Taoist nation will be terror-stricken and no one will dare to go against the Bronze Pillar Nation. In my opinion, all of you are too narrow-minded. There is no need to consider whether the Confucian nation is invincible or the Buddhist nation is invincible. You only need to consider the strength of the Bronze Pillar Nation and act according to your capabilities. From your words, it seems like you already have a plan. We are all ears. The Minister of War, Yu Zhong, seized the opportunity and laughed. The king stood up proudly and waved his hand. He said, Now that the Bronze Pillar Nation has a strong army and valiant soldiers, we have just annexed the Jiang country and our morale is at its peak. We should take advantage of this victory and conquer the Jiming Nation and Yifeng Nation. Everyone in the palace was stunned. Even the Prime Minister's father, who claimed that he didn't care about the court, was tongue-tied. It was obvious that the king's words were beyond their expectations. The king was very satisfied with this effect. He waved his hand, and the dragon on his crown roared. He proudly said, Wherever my sword points, nothing will stand in its way. Wherever my gaze reaches, it is all the land. Long live the king! Long live the king! The officials didn't dare to stand up. They all knelt down and cheered. At this time, the dragon roared again. With a whoosh, the dragon rushed straight to the top of the palace. Boom! A huge hole appeared on the top of the palace. The inscriptions on the top of the palace flickered. There was no way to stop it. The officials were even more shocked. Their eyes stared straight at the dragon on the king's body. It rushed into the sky and entered the void. The king's body shone with a golden light. When they looked at the king again, his face first showed the same astonishment. Then he sneered. His eyes flashed with incomparable confidence. He waved the sleeves of his dragon robe and shouted, "The earth is under my feet. The national plan is in my hands. Who dares to speak more? Who is the one who will raise the hidden immortals? Who is the one who will dominate the country? Who has a higher battle record than my family? High and mighty, everyone look. My country is as beautiful as a painting. I climb the mountain and step on the fog. I point at the sky and laugh. Who else but me can praise? Whoever stands in front of me and blocks my footsteps, I will suppress them forever. Long live His Majesty! Long live His Majesty! Long live His Majesty!" An indescribable surge of hot blood surged in everyone's hearts. Everyone in the royal palace kowtowed to the ground and loudly shouted, "We will sacrifice our blood to the copper pillar and achieve greatness throughout the ages." Unfortunately, before their cheers died down, an even more powerful dragon roar sounded again. The wind and clouds above the palace changed drastically. Thousands of dark clouds gathered, and the wind howled. A thunderbolt as thick as a child's arm struck from the void. It hit the palace, and splendor splashed in all directions. In an instant, half of the palace collapsed. In the void, where the king's dragon aura rushed out, an even more powerful and ferocious dragon had popped out and swallowed the dragon aura that had yet to rush into the void. Although the huge dragon body in the mouth didn't come out from the void, the dragon aura above the king's head was still sucked dry by the dragon head. Roar! Before the dragon head left, it shook its head. The dragon's eyes swept across the palace. Its gaze was full of disdain. Moreover, the dragon head even spoke in human language. "Shao is the beginning. I am here to rob you of your freedom. This stone will be engraved in the annals of history. It will be passed down from generation to generation. Watch how this Shao suppresses you." With the dragon aura gone, not only did the dragon disappear, but also the fate of the copper pillar state on the king's body. The king stood there in a daze like a clay statue. The king wasn't the only one who was stunned. All of the officials in the palace knelt there. They didn't know what to think or what to say. After an unknown amount of time, the prime minister's father, who was kneeling on the ground, was the first to come to his senses. He immediately stood up and shouted, "Palace guards! Palace guards! Your servant is here." A few trembling palace guards hurriedly ran out from the palace gates and knelt in front of the prime minister's father. "Lock the palace gates and seal off all information." The prime minister's father's face was as ferocious as a dragon's. He said word by word, "If any rumors about what happened today are discovered, kill them immediately." Chapter 35:29. Yes, sir. A few palace guards received the order and hurriedly ran out of the royal palace. "General Wenfeng." Xiang Fu called out again. General Wenfeng hurriedly stood up and cupped his fists. "This general is here. Take the commander's seal and mobilize the troops from all over the place. Guard the area that has been conquered and do not take any action. Temporarily wait for the king's next order." "This general obeys." General Wenfeng answered and left. Xiang Fu called out again. General of agile cavalry. "This general is bring your troops and rush to the left of the palace to guard against the remnants of Jiang country's sneak attacks." "Yes, General, how?" Just as Prime Minister's father was about to give another order, the monarch spoke first. "Bring all my beloved subjects to Qingxin Palace to rest. Then, discuss with the Ministry of War and the Ministry of Revenue how to deal with the situation. I will first discuss with Prime Minister's father and will be there soon." "Yes, sir." General Hao, who received the order, and placed his hand on the treasured sword at his waist. He walked to the front of the hall door and coldly looked at the officials. Seeing that the king had returned to normal and was calmly giving orders, a smile appeared on his father's face as he slowly sat down on the embroidered chair. Many of the officials crawled up from the ground. Some of them had doubt in their eyes, some had panic on their faces, some were confident, and some were calm. They slowly retreated from the royal palace and followed the flow of people to other places. "All of you leave." The king looked at the palace guards around him. as well as some palace maids and eunuchs who were trembling in fear. He waved his hand and instructed, "No one is allowed to stay within 100 feet of the royal palace. If anyone approaches, they will be killed immediately." "Yes, sir." The palace guard roared, as if emboldened, and retreated with the palace maids and eunuchs. When the royal palace was quiet, the king no longer spoke. He only quietly stared at the roof of the palace where the dragon Shi had broken through, staring at it for a long time. On the other hand, Xiang Fu was calm at this moment. He leisurely sat on the embroidered chair and looked at the king. His previously respectful eyes now had a trace of affection. "Prime Minister." After a while, the monarch finally spoke, but his eyes never left the sky above his head. "I haven't seen the blue sky for a long time. Looking at it today, the sky hasn't changed much. It's still as blue as when I followed you to the Imperial Garden when I was young." "That's right, this old subject still remembers. Back then, this old subject was explaining the thoughts of an emperor to my king, but my king didn't listen and instead looked at the blue sky. This old subject was so angry that I even slapped my king a few times." A faint smile appeared on the Prime Minister's face. "My king, do you still remember what you said that day?" "Sigh, Prime Minister, there's no one else in the Imperial Palace right now. Prime Minister, please call me by my name." The monarch sighed and said, "At that time, I was still young. I don't really remember what I said." Inghong, you said something like the sky is so blue and beautiful, and the sky is so big and broad. Husband, if your son's heart is as big as the sky, how great would that be?" Inghong laughed. "That's right, Inghong," Xiang Fu said with a smile. The wrinkles on his face were full of smiles. At that time, this old subject was dumbfounded. "You were only 6 years old, but you actually said something so philosophical." This old subject's hands couldn't continue to hit you. "Haha, it's just a child's joke. Prime Minister, you actually remember it so clearly." The monarch smiled helplessly. Xiang Fu said with a serious face, "Inghong, if you think that way, then you're wrong. The bigger your heart, the taller the sky. Only a broad heart can allow you to gallop in this world. If the ancestors of the Ying family didn't have such a heart bigger than the sky, how could they have established the Bronze Pillar Nation?" At this point, Xiang Fu hesitated for a moment before continuing. "Actually, the so-called dragon-shaped providence is only the providence of the nation after the ancestors of the Ying family established the nation. This dragon Shi is just a symbol, not the source." "Sigh, Prime Minister." Inghong slowly walked to the jade platform and squatted in front of Xiang Fu. He held Xiang Fu's hand and said, "In this world, I no longer have any relatives, nor do I have anyone I can trust. Prime Minister, you have more weight in my heart than my father. In front of Prime Minister, I shouldn't hide anything. However, there are many things that I don't dare to tell you because I'm afraid of implicating you. Actually, what I'm worried about isn't the Imperial Jade Seal, nor is it the Dragon Shi." Hong Xiang Fu anxiously called out Inghong's nickname. He asked, "What do you mean by that?" "Prime Minister, you're probably still wondering why I didn't discuss it with you before sending the state preceptor to Black Cloud Ridge to exterminate the remnants of the Taoism, right?" Inghong smiled. "Furthermore, Prime Minister, you've repeatedly written to me that I should think thrice before acting, and that I shouldn't rashly attack a neighboring nation." "Sigh, that's true." Xiang Fu held Inghong's hand as if he was looking at his own son and grandson. He sighed. "My king has always been wise and far-sighted, and he's good at ruling the country. My Bronze Pillar country is stronger than Jiang country and Jiasa country, but if we want to devour them, especially the 2 countries that my king mentioned today, we're still unable to do so. This old subject feels that I can't keep up with my king's train of thought. I also feel that Lung Chinga is bewitching my king, which is why I'm so angry. Prime Minister, you've misunderstood the state preceptor, and you've also misunderstood me. Prime Minister, please take a look at what this is." Inghong pulled his hand out of Prime Minister's father's hand, then reached into his bosom and took out a palm-sized medallion. The medallion looked very ordinary, but as soon as it appeared in the air, it immediately produced a 5-colored cloud, which swirled around the medallion and formed a palace about half a foot to the left. Immortal Palace token? Surprise appeared in Xiang Fu's eyes. He exclaimed softly, "Where did my king obtain this item?" "Prime Minister, this item should have been given to me by an envoy of the Immortal Palace half a year ago," Ing Hong explained. Along with this Immortal Palace token were the 5 brocade cloud painting, the 5 Qi righteous thunder method, and other items of the Immortal Palace. The envoy of the Immortal Palace said clearly that the Immortal Palace had taken a fancy to my Bronze Pillar country's prosperity, so they helped and wanted my Bronze Pillar country to become a #1 empire of the hidden Immortal Continent. However, the envoy also said clearly that this matter was a secret that no one could know, fearing that it would cause dissatisfaction among the other Confucian countries of the hidden Immortal Continent. Xiang Fu frowned as he stared at the Immortal Palace token, as if he was thinking about something. After a long while, he finally opened his mouth. "Thus, my king did not discuss with this old official, and decided on a plan to conquer Jiang country with the imperial advisor, and took down Jiang country with lightning speed. Then he let Jiang country's Chongling princess escape, wanting to use this to bait Jia Sa country, and then take over Jia Sa country?" "Yes, this is what I meant." Ing Hong did not conceal and said, "Jia Sa country was founded by Buddhist cultivators, and that group of bald donkeys is very united. My Bronze Pillar country rashly attacking will cause dissatisfaction among the other countries. If Jia Sa country interferes in the matter of the Chongling princess, this one can legitimately attack. Unfortunately, the Chongling princess did not escape to Jia Sa country, and was saved by a Taoist cultivator called Xiao Hua at Black Cloud Ridge. This Xiao Hua broke into my Bronze Pillar Imperial Academy under the blood steel in Seven Yang Temple, and ruined this one's face." Xiang Fu opened his mouth, but seemed to think of something, and closed it, listening to Ing Hong's explanation. The soldiers this one sent to kill the Chongling princess were all killed, and this one realized that this Xiao Hua was skilled, and even the faction behind him was very strong. Ing Hong said, so this one discussed with the Imperial Preceptor, and gave him the 5 brocade cloud painting and the 5 Qi righteous thunder method that the Immortal Envoy gave him, and told him to kill Xiao Hua at Black Cloud Ridge no matter what. But then the Imperial Preceptor and the others besieged Black Cloud Ridge for almost a month, and did not see Xiao Hua fight. Instead, those demons and the remnants of Jiang country showed up. The Imperial Preceptor was afraid something would happen, and discussed with this one. This one took out the country, stabilizing Jade Seal, and also gave him the secret art that the Immortal Envoy gave him. In this one's view, even if Xiao Hua, the Taoist sect, is powerful, he can avoid the 5 Qi righteous thunder and the 5 suns ascension of the 5 brocade cloud painting. But he cannot avoid the wrath of the Son of Heaven. That is the pure destiny of a country. How can the Taoist sect disciples understand this? But who would have thought? At this point, Ing Hong was slightly dejected because Xiao Hua's dragon energy was many times stronger than his. He really went for wool and came home shorn. It seems that Lung Chinga will not be able to return, and the people of the Imperial Academy will not be able to return. Xiang Fu nodded. My king has suffered great losses this time. Yes, I'm not worried about the dragon energy being swallowed. After all, the Bronze Pillar country is under my control. Ing Hong replied. But the 5 brocade cloud painting and the 5 Qi righteous thunder technique were given by the Immortal Envoy. If the Immortal Envoy comes to patrol, I will not be able to deal with it. My king, have you thought about why the Immortal Envoy came to find you? Could it be that there is no country in the hidden Immortal Continent that is stronger than our Bronze Pillar country, and more prosperous in destiny? There should be plenty of countries that are stronger. Ing Hong was stunned and did not understand. If we're talking about destiny, this is what the Immortal Envoy said, right? Xiang Fu was somewhat disdainful and actually interrupted Ing Hong. But Ing Hong did not find it strange at all and nodded. Indeed, to be honest, I have thought about it too. Although the Immortal Envoy has proposed other conditions, but if I think about it carefully, I am afraid this matter is related to the country of Xi. Sai, my king, since you understand, why do you have to enter the trap? Xiang Fu sighed. The battle between immortals and Buddhas is unpredictable. If we are not careful, we will not even have a corpse left. Why should our Bronze Pillar country get involved in this muddy water? Xiang Fu, with our Bronze Pillar country's position and strength, is the best place to rule the country of Xi. Ing Hong smiled bitterly. If the Immortal Palace is looking for a country, it has to be our Bronze Pillar country. My king has probably seen through it long ago, but you want to borrow the Immortal Palace's wind to sweep our Bronze Pillar country's flag all over the hidden Immortal continent, right? Xiang Fu is the one who knows me well. Ing Hong nodded. If not for the sudden appearance of Black Cloud Ridge's Xiao Hua, this one's plan should have been carried out smoothly. Forget it. Many thanks, my king, for telling this old subject. Hearing this, Xiang Fu frowned and said, this was originally an excellent opportunity for the rise of our Bronze Pillar country. However, the appearance of the Dao sect, Xiao Hua, made my king's plan go awry. The most important thing now is how to get rid of Xiao Hua, take back the Immortal Palace's item, and push everything to our desired trajectory. Chapter 35:30. Prime Minister's father. I suddenly have a bad feeling. Ing Hong said in a low voice, if the Immortal Palace can choose me, then the Dao sect. In other words, the power behind Xiao Hua. Could it be that Xiao Hua wants to take advantage of the chaos? That's extremely possible. The Prime Minister's father nodded. However, the Dao sect is weak in my hidden Immortal continent. We don't need to care about it. Let's resolve the crisis in front of us first. Prime Minister, what's the plan? Ing Hong asked respectfully. The Prime Minister's father smiled as he looked at Ing Hong and said, this old official thought about it just now, and there should be a plan that can be said to kill 3 birds with 1 stone. I wonder if my king would like to hear it? Kill 3 birds with 1 stone? Ing Hong frowned, somewhat puzzled. This old official remembers that when the Jiang country was destroyed, Lung Qing killed the Jiang country's imperial advisor, Qin Haoyue. Where is he imprisoned? The Prime Minister's father asked. It should be in the Jade Mountain dungeon. Ing Hong thought of something, and his eyes lit up. This old official does not know about this. I believe that the remnants of the Jiang country, and even the Dao sect, Xiao Hua, do not know about this either. If Xiao Hua wants to help Princess Ling restore the country, he must borrow the power of the Jiang country's original Dao sect. Otherwise, he will have no reason to do so. The Prime Minister's father said calmly, my king can send an expert to guard the Jade Mountain and take the opportunity to capture Xiao Hua. Ing Hong was distressed and sighed. Prime Minister's father, the problem is that the imperial advisor is unable to kill Xiao Hua with the power of the 5 Qi Thunder, so I have no other methods to capture him. My Bronze Pillar country doesn't have it, but the hidden Immortal continent does. The Prime Minister's father laughed. Even if the Confucian cultivators don't have it, there are still the Buddhist sect and the Dao sect. Moreover, Xiao Hua took my Bronze Pillar state's 5-dragon imperial jade seal. According to what this old minister knows, this 5-dragon imperial jade seal is not an ordinary imperial jade seal. It was passed down from ancient times. That Immortal Palace's emissary is afraid that because my king has this 5-dragon imperial jade seal, he left behind a secret method of using dragon qi. I understand. Ing Hong's eyes narrowed. The Jiang country is a country founded by Dao cultivators. He does not have the qualifications to use this 5-dragon jade seal. I only need to spread the news, even if I cannot take back the 5-dragon jade seal, that Xiao Hua will definitely be the enemy of all the Confucian cultivators in the hidden Immortal continent. Yes, that's the second reason. The Prime Minister's father nodded. Moreover, according to what I know, there's a rule when Daoist sects establish a country. One must participate in the Yaotai Assembly, pass a competition, and win the so-called Imperial Preceptor's lot. Only then can one have the opportunity to establish a country. This was also one of the methods that the Confucian cultivators used to control the Daoist sect. If Xiao Hua wants to help the Jiang country recover and become the imperial advisor of the Jiang country, he must participate in this Jade Pavilion meeting. Since he wants to participate, then wouldn't my king have an opportunity to take advantage of it? Prime Minister, this doesn't seem to be killing 3 birds with 1 stone, does it? Ing Hong said with a smile. It's more like a cunning rabbit having 3 burrows. Ha ha ha. Who cares if it's killing 3 birds with 1 stone, or if it's a cunning rabbit with 3 burrows, or if it's a 3-pronged plan? We just need to get rid of Xiao Hua. Xiang Fu also laughed loudly. After the two of them finished laughing, the Prime Minister's father seemed to have thought of something. He rolled his eyes and said, "That's right, my king. What other requests did the immortal emissary make? Oh, of course, if my king has any taboos, you don't have to tell me. I didn't say it before because I didn't want my father to worry. Now that it's come to this, why should I avoid it?" Ing Hong said in a low voice. Huh? His father was stunned and blurted out, "What does a mortal master want 100 nascent soul stage cultivators for? How could the nascent soul of a Dao sect cultivator be so easily obtained? Didn't Qin Hao Yue of Jiang country self-destruct his nascent soul?" "I don't know either." Ing Hong laughed bitterly. "I have already sent people to find more than 10 nascent soul stage cultivators and imprison them in the front of the Jade Mountain. When the immortal emissary comes, they will be offered to the immortal emissary. However, after listening to my father's words, that immortal emissary, I'm afraid that he's trying to hide something. Forget it. No matter how the immortal emissary arranges it, we don't need to ask too much. We just need to do our own things and borrow the power of the immortal emissary to do our own things." His father didn't seem to understand either, so he urged, "My king, hurry up and make the arrangements. In addition, my king still has to prepare his troops and horses to attack the Jiming nation and the Yifeng nation, so as not to attract the attention of the immortal emissary." "Yes, I know," Ing Hong said in high spirits. Just as he was about to raise his head to summon the palace guards, he suddenly laughed. "Oh, right. I still have a plan." "Oh, I'm all ears." His father asked curiously. "Father, perhaps you still remember the underground elemental stone mine in the Black Cloud Ridge?" Ing Hong laughed. Dao Sect Xiao Hua broke the 5-brocade cloud map, and the entire Black Cloud Ridge fell into his hands. That Black Wind King, Golden Eagle King, and Myriad Lion King are probably not his match, and the underground elemental stone mine will definitely be discovered by him. Jiang country is gone, and my Bronze Pillar country has lost this battle. I'm afraid that I can't leave any soldiers there to mine. If my Bronze Pillar country retreats, Jiasa country will definitely take down the entire elemental stone mine. When I spread the news that the elemental stone mine is ownerless, not to mention others, the other cultivators of the Dao sect will definitely swarm over. At that time, haha, that's right, my king's plan is brilliant." His father laughed out loud again, stroking his beard and saying, "The Dao sect is the best at internal strife, and furthermore, there's an elemental stone mine there. Even if Xiao Hua doesn't die in the hands of my Confucian cultivator, he will still be skinned by the Dao sect cultivators." "Palace guards." Ing Hong smiled, regaining his previous calmness. He walked to the jade steps and sat behind the dragon table, ordering, "Bring all the officials back to the imperial palace." Of course, Xiao Hua did not know that the undercurrent had already reached his feet. He was once again dragged into the vortex of the battle between the immortals and Buddhas. He only urged the other primordial spirits to cultivate with all their might, to heal the injuries of his body. Unknowingly, more than 100 days had passed. Xiao Hua was living a carefree life. On this day, he was reciting the Yellow Court. Suddenly, his heart stirred. He put down the scroll, raised his head, and frowned as he looked outside the 5-brocade cloud map. After staring for a moment, Xiao Hua sighed again and muttered to himself, "Sigh, people go into seclusion for years, decades. Why is I so bitter? But it's just been 100 days, and there's some karma. It's really troublesome." Immediately, Xiao Hua was about to get up, but looking at the 5-cheese thunder in the 5-brocade cloud map, and sensing that the nascent soul in his lower dantian was struck by the thunder, Xiao Hua was really reluctant. After thinking for a moment, he first put away little thunder, and then his mind fell into his middle dantian. At this time, Confucian cultivator Xiao Hua was wearing Confucian clothes. Seeing Jade Archive Xiao Hua come in, he cupped his hands and said, student greets fellow immortal. TSK. You've only learned Confucian cultivation methods for a few days, and you're actually so rotten? Jade Archive, Xiao Hua waved his hand, saying very disapprovingly, "You and I are Taoist cultivators. It's better to call me fellow immortal." Confucian cultivator Xiao Hua smacked his lips and said, "Fellow immortal is wrong." That was then, and this is now. Previously, student was ignorant and cultivated the 5 Qis unification according to Taoist cultivation methods. How could I have known that the cultivation method was incongruous? This. Jade Archive Xiao Hua's face was slightly hot. Confucian cultivator Xiao Hua was actually talking about himself. Confucian cultivator Xiao Hua ignored Jade Archive Xiao Hua's embarrassment and continued. "I remember that when fellow immortals saw legalism's sword intent that day, you once mocked Huan country's sword cultivators for their nondescript cultivation of flying swords. But when you think about students' previous cultivation, wasn't it also the same? The pot calling the kettle black is nothing more than this." That's a problem with the cultivation method. Jade Archive Xiao Hua was somewhat unconvinced and said with a smile, "Now that we've obtained the heavenly heart and heavenly book and know the cultivation method of the 5 Qis unification, we're already on the right track. A so-called title doesn't count for anything, right? The path of Confucian cultivators is to be scrupulous, to the point of no compromise. Even if it's the path of the mean, it must also be neither deviated nor slanted." Confucian cultivator Xiao Hua shook his head and said, "Fellow immortal, don't you see that today's Confucian cultivators are all pursuing power, falling into the Taoist cultivation method, to the extent that they're neither Confucian nor Taoist, and instead have cast the essence of Confucian cultivators to the back of their minds? Now that student has entered Confucianism, I should follow its method and keep its form. Only in this way can I truly learn the essence of the 5 Qis unification." "Good." Jade Archive Xiao Hua clapped his hands and said with a smile, "Fellow immortal, you're right. I'm very fortunate. I'm afraid fellow immortal's body has also changed now." "Correct. A bit of true Qi rises in the chest. The myriad of sword intents disappears from the body. The 5 Qis unification clouds appear, and the 3 flowers converge crown gives birth to immortality." Confucian cultivator Xiao Huan nodded, and his body flashed with true Qi of 5 colors. The sword shape of the core of loyalty from before was already in a state of collapse, and a small 5-color that faintly appeared where the core of loyalty was originally. "Congratulations, fellow immortal, congratulations." Jade Archive Xiao Hua cupped his hands and said with a smile. Confucian cultivator Xiao Hua returned the salute. "Congratulations, congratulations. Although we're both fellow immortal, we're also one body. Does fellow immortal have something to do?" I naturally have something to do. Could it be fellow immortal doesn't know?" Jade Archive Xiao Hua smiled and pointed outside. Confucian cultivator Xiao Hua nodded. "Fellow immortal's idea is somewhat unimaginable, but it's worth a try. If it succeeds, both student and fellow immortal will benefit greatly, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Then I'll have to trouble fellow immortal." Jade Archive Xiao Hua turned around and left the middle dantian. Not long after, he returned, holding the 5 brocade cloud painting and the 5 silk handkerchiefs in his hand. Confucian cultivator Xiao Hua didn't stand on ceremony. He took the 5 brocade cloud painting and spat out true Qi from his mouth. The 5 brocade cloud painting slowly rotated in the middle dantian and separately landed in 5 different places of the middle dantian. At the same time, the originally rich, true Qi in the middle dantian was slowly repelled by the 5 brocade cloud painting outside the Great Formation. "Good." Jade Archive Xiao Hua saw this and immediately beamed with joy. Although he already knew from the auction at Zhaixing Lu that Confucian cultivators cultivated righteous Qi, which was fundamentally different from the spiritual Qi of heaven and earth cultivated by Taoists, The true qi in his middle dantian was formed from spiritual qi of heaven and earth, and there was simply no way to convert it. His previous idea was to use his current true qi as a foundation and slowly think of other methods based on comprehending the 5 qi's origin cultivation method. But now he saw that the 5 brocade cloud painting formation could actually be arranged in the middle dantian. The righteous qi in the void was produced according to the righteous qi's refinement method, so naturally it could be converted into righteous qi. This true qi was the purest true qi of a Confucian cultivator. Chapter 35-31. Seeing that the 5 brocade cloud painting formation in his middle dantian had been completed, an awe-inspiring qi immediately came out of Xiao Hua's body and rushed into his middle dantian. The previous qi also went through the 5 brocade cloud painting formation and went back into the formation. Good. Jade Archive, Xiao Hua clapped his hands again. This way, I don't have to read the scrolls to distinguish the awe-inspiring qi. Fellow immortal is wrong again. Confucian cultivator Xiao Hua was about to take out the silk handkerchief in his hand, but after hearing Jade Archive Xiao Hua's words, he stopped and shook his head. The awe-inspiring qi can't be compared to the spiritual qi of heaven and earth. The spiritual qi of heaven and earth is the spirit of heaven and earth, the origin of heaven and earth. This awe-inspiring qi reveals the human heart and humanity. If fellow immortal doesn't read the scrolls, this awe-inspiring qi is dead. How could a pool of stagnant water be more useful than a clear spring? The scrolls of ancient scrolls are like small streams, pushing through the old to bring forth the new. Flowing water is nothing more than this. Yes, I understand. Jade Archive Xiao Hua was convinced. The path of Confucian cultivator was not so simple. He had just touched the door of the 5 qi's unification. He really didn't know what was behind this door. Confucian cultivator Xiao Hua raised his hand again, and the 5 silk handkerchiefs fell into the formation. Immediately after, the immortal execution stage appeared. Confucian cultivator Xiao Hua landed on the immortal execution stage and waved his hand. A thunderbolt appeared out of thin air and fell on the immortal execution stage. When the 5 qi's righteous thunder fell from the immortal execution stage, it passed through Xiao Hua's body and fell into the nascent soul in his lower dantian. Seeing the awe-inspiring qi of the 5 brocade cloud painting formation rushing into his body, Confucian cultivator Xiao Hua was very satisfied. He smiled and said, "Fellow immortal is right. Now, I have to review my homework. I won't see you off." Finished speaking, Confucian cultivator Xiao Hua no longer paid attention to Jade Archive Xiao Hua. He let the 5-colored heavenly heart sit cross-legged on his head and took out a scroll. He shook his head and began to read. Ha ha! Jade Archive Xiao Hua came out of his middle dantian with a laugh. He looked around and waved his hand, taking the heavenly star formation jade talisman into his hand. Now the 10 primordial spirits were all cultivating. Instead, Xiao Hua himself had nothing to do. Perhaps I should find some time to visit Luzhan. When Xiao Hua had this thought, he couldn't help but feel homesick. Green-robed Xiao Hua could be considered diligent. He had already taken the time to look at the map of the hidden immortal continent. Xiao Hua knew that there were at least several hundred Lu towns. If Xiao Hua wanted to see all of these places one by one, it would take him at least 8 to 10 years. Forget it, we'll talk about it later. Xiao Hua slowly walked out of the quiet room. He saw Lu Yi sitting cross-legged in front of him, seemingly cultivating. Wang Bianfei was holding a horsetail whisk in his hand, guarding it. Seeing Xiao Hua come out, joy appeared on his face. He hurriedly went forward and bowed in greeting. "Master has come out of seclusion." And Xiao Hua smiled and asked, "Lu Yi is bitterly cultivating. Why aren't you cultivating? Although you become a junior brother, you can't be lazy." Hee, how would this disciple dare? Wang Bianfei knew that Xiao Hua was joking, so he hurriedly replied, "Disciple and senior brother agreed that when one of us cultivates, the other will be on duty. Today is senior brother's turn to cultivate, so disciple will be on duty. That's right. Xiao Hua smiled. You brothers being harmonious is exactly what this old man likes. You have to know, now that you've already stepped into the ranks of cultivators, the years in the future will be long, your lifespan will be endless, and your cultivation will have no end, but a person's feelings may have an end. Yes, disciple understands. Wang Bianfei smiled and said, Senior brother is very good to disciple, and disciple's relationship with senior brother is also not bad. Elder, listen to what disciple is saying now. That's right. If you didn't say it, this old man wouldn't have been able to tell. Xiaohua smiled. That's right. Wang Bianfei had always been speaking the language of hidden immortal continent, and Xiaohua couldn't tell at once. This is all thanks to senior brother. Wang Bianfei smiled as he looked at Lu Yi in the distance. Xiaohua nodded. He was really satisfied with the two of them. Then, he thought of something and asked, That's right. Where's your mother? How is she now? Oh, disciple's mother has a residence outside the cave, and senior brother Qin personally asked about it. It's not good for her to change her language for the time being, so disciple can only slowly teach her. Happiness appeared on Wang Bianfei's face again. Senior brother Qin? Oh, it's Qin Xiaoyao. Xiao Hua smiled and said, He did a good job. In the future, when you enter my sect, you have to treat people who are kind to you well. Disciple understands. Wang Bianfei nodded his head like a chicken pecking rice. Wang Bianfei was exceptionally intelligent, even more so than Lu Yi. However, his knowledge was lacking, and he wasn't as flexible as Lu Yi. However, what he heard and saw in these 100 days already let him know that he might have already arrived at an unfamiliar place. However, he didn't reveal a single word about where he came from, and didn't even ask about it. Lu Yi also didn't ask a single word because they knew that when the time came for them to know, Xiao Hua would definitely let them know. That's right, master. Seeing Xiao Hua sitting on the seat of honor, Wang Bianfei thought of another matter and hurriedly said in a low voice, Disciple still has something to report to master. Oh, speak. Did you encounter any problems in your cultivation? Xiao Hua asked curiously. Disciple, Wang Bianfei was actually a bit hesitant. Disciple knows that master is a Dao cultivator, and disciple also cultivates Dao magic. However, a few days ago, Copper Pillar Academy sent a lot of scrolls, and among them, some are about painting disciple. Ha! This old man understands. Xiao Hua laughed. Didn't this old man say before? Whether it's Confucianism, Dao, or even Buddhism, as long as you want to cultivate, this old man will agree. At the same time, this old man can also give you pointers. Thank you, master. Wang Bianfei was really beaming with joy. After all, Confucianism and Dao cultivators had different cultivation methods. These days, Wang Bianfei also learned a lot from Lu Yi, and he was really afraid that Xiao Hua wouldn't agree. However, Xiao Hua frowned again. Bianfei, you have to think clearly whether it's Confucianism or Dao. You have to focus on one thing, and if you do two things at once, I'm afraid it's not good. If you can't do both, you might as well focus on one thing. Master, don't forget how you took me in as a disciple. Wang Bianfei listened and said with a smile, Senior, don't look at how senior brother and disciple cultivate together. It seems that we cultivate at the same time, but disciple has taken advantage of it. Xiao Hua suddenly realized and said curiously, Could it be that you? At this point, Xiao Hua didn't say anything else. Wang Bianfei also said with a smile, Master is right. Disciple does have this talent. Good. Xiao Hua looked at Lu Yi, who was cultivating with his eyes closed. This Lu Yi was born with a unique talent. In the future, Xiao Hua would be able to teach him the Buddhist sect's secret technique. This Wang Bianfei, in front of him, was actually able to cultivate in his dream. His 1 day of cultivation was equivalent to 2 days of other people. Furthermore, his divine sense could even surpass other people. These two unnamed disciples of his were not bad. You should first cultivate Dao's Qi refinement technique, and then paint. When the time is ripe, this old man will teach you Confucianism's cultivation method. Xiao Hua said with a smile. Thank you, master. Wang Bianfei was naturally happy. Right. How is Yuanya recently? Since Xiao Hua returned to Black Wind Ridge, he first fought with Lung Qingge and the others, and then went into seclusion, so he didn't have a chance to ask Yuanya. Brother Ya. Wang Bianfei was stunned, scratched his head, and said embarrassedly, Disciple has been guarding the cave and hasn't seen Brother Ya and the others much. It seems that Brother Ya is always with Senior Brother Qin and the others. Xiao Hua nodded. Wang Bianfei had only been in Black Wind Ridge for 100 days, and it was already good that he could solve the language problem. If he asked too much, he probably wouldn't know. Xiao Hua thought for a moment and said, Let the head of Copper Pillar Academy in. Wang Bianfei stared blankly for a moment. Then a look of reverence appeared on his face. This was what he originally wanted to report. That handsome Doshan Jun had already asked to see Xiao Hua 3 times. Today, after he came, he even waited outside the cave. It seemed like he was determined to wait for Xiao Hua to come out of seclusion. After waiting for Wang Bianfei to leave, Doshan Jun came in not long after. Doshan Jun stood in front of Xiao Hua, looked him up and down, and bowed. Disciple greets Taoist Xiao. No need to be polite. Xiao Hua raised his hand and said, You and I are old friends. As the saying goes, no discord, no concord. Taoist Xiao is too polite. Doshan Jun slightly smiled, and his not-so-small eyes flashed with a layer of indescribable charm. Head, what business do you have here today? Xiao Hua asked straightforwardly. I heard that you have come 3 times in a row. Doshan Jun said, Disciple has come under the orders of the head of Copper Pillar Academy to deliver a copy of the books in my library. Today is already the 3rd time, and there are a total of 1,126,403 books. Taoist Xiao, please accept them. Doshan Jun took out a scroll from his bosom and handed it to Xiao Hua. Oh, Xiao Hua frowned, took the scroll, and opened it to take a look. Inside was the number of the 1,000,000 books, and it was clearly written. He couldn't help but be surprised. Why didn't you use your jade eyes? Oh, could it be that this collection of books are all books? Correct. It is indeed 1,000,000 books. Doshan Jun said proudly. If not, how could Disciple come 3 times? If I use my jade eyes to record the books in my library, I can only know the meaning. How can I see the form and obtain the essence? Taoist Xiao admittedly has my Confucian cultivation, but I'm afraid that these... Oh, then many thanks to the head of North Guo Academy. Xiao Hua only understood at this moment and said with a solemn face, This gift is very heavy. Head of Copper Pillar, please tell the head of North Guo Academy that I will definitely agree to whatever he says. Good. Doshan Jun's heart finally settled. In Taoist Xiao's eyes, there is no difference between Confucian and Taoist Xiao. Disciple thanks Taoist Xiao on behalf of Confucian. No need to be polite. Seeing that Doshan Jun had no intention of getting up, Xiao Hua was somewhat puzzled, and asked again, Head of Copper Pillar, is there anything else? Indeed. Doshan Jun nodded, looked at Wang Bianfei and Lu Yi, and said, Disciple has an extremely important matter to ask Taoist Xiao. Just say it here, they're all my disciples. Xiao Hua said with a smile. Chapter 35-32. Huh. Doshan Jun laughed and said, These 2 are really lucky to be able to become Taoist Xiao's disciple. However, although Taoist Xiao doesn't avoid these 2, he still has to consider them. There are some things they can know, and some things they shouldn't know. Xiao Hua frowned, got up and said, All right, come with me. After saying that, Xiao Hua led the way to the quiet room. Doshan Jun naturally followed Xiao Hua. After Xiao Hua sat cross-legged on the praying mat, Xiao Hua smiled and said to Doshan Jun, Minister, my quiet room can be said to be simple and crude. There's nothing to entertain guests, so I'll have to trouble you to stand. Doshan Jun didn't care about Xiao Hua's embarrassment at all. He only looked up and said with a smile, Taoist Xiao's cave is really simple and crude. How come there's not even a spirit field or a pill room? Xiao Hua smiled faintly and waved his hand. This old man was just speaking up to hear. Xiao Hua was stunned. He raised his eyebrows and sneered. Do Shanjun, you actually dare to spy on my cave? Yes, with Xiao Hua's current cultivation, even if Do Shanjun used a Confucian cultivator's magical ability to check him, he would definitely know. Moreover, although his quiet room wasn't protected by the capital star formation, it was still protected by formation. How could Do Shanjun see through it? Do Shanjun's words were obviously trying to tell him something. Haha, it's not spying. I just casually took a look. Do Shanjun looked at Xiao Hua and casually sat opposite him. His tone seemed to be casually. Xiao Hua said coldly, fellow Taoist Do is really interested. You're so interested in my cave. You actually casually took a look and saw so much. What a magnanimous Confucian cultivator. Do Shanjun shrugged and said helplessly, Taoist Xiao is cultivating in seclusion. I have something to ask, but I can't find it. Naturally, I'll casually take a look to see if the master is avoiding me. This is human nature. It has nothing to do with Confucian cultivators, right? Xiao Hua sighed and shook his head. Fellow Taoist Do, what exactly do you want? This place is already quiet. Feel free to say it. Spiritual Master, please set up the capital star array. I'm afraid that the words I'm about to say will be overheard by others. Do Shanjun said with a smile. Is it that serious? Xiao Hua's heart stirred as he asked curiously. Do Shanjun nodded. Not bad. However, without waiting for him to finish, Xiao Hua was shocked again and cried out, What? You actually know about the capital star array? Student not only knows about the capital star formation, but also knows that Reverend's capital star formation has some flaws. Otherwise, it wouldn't have collapsed under the attack of the 5 brocade cloud painting. Do Shanjun's words shocked Xiao Hua even more. After some thought, Xiao Hua waved his hand and laid down the capital heaven star formation. Then, he went straight to the point. Do Shanjun, speak. What do you want? Unexpectedly, Do Shanjun didn't answer. Instead, he asked with interest, Oh? Taoist Master Xiao is really amazing. He actually has the Du Tian star formation jade talisman. Did Taoist Master Xiao refine it himself? Or did you get it from somewhere else? Xiao Hua became impatient and waved his hand. This is my personal matter. It has nothing to do with fellow immortals' visit, right? Of course it has something to do with it. Do Shanjun said with a smile. If this jade talisman was refined by Taoist Master Xiao, I can tell Taoist Master Xiao how to refine it. If this capital heaven star formation was obtained by Taoist Master Xiao, I can help Taoist Master Xiao to complete this capital heaven star formation. What? Xiao Hua almost jumped up and said in surprise. Do Shanjun, who are you? At this point, how could Xiao Hua not know that Do Shanjun was definitely not a simple Confucian cultivator? Taoist Master Xiao, don't worry. I am the Dean of the Copper Pillar Academy. There is no doubt about this. Do Shanjun said with a smile. Now, and in the future, Xiao Hua's face was somewhat gloomy. He narrowed his eyes and looked at Do Shanjun, whose face was still incomparably handsome. Moreover, Do Shanjun said again, I will definitely not interfere with Taoist Master Zhao's matters of establishing a country, revenge, and so on. I will only be the Dean of the Copper Pillar Academy. I will not overstep my duty. All right, since fellow immortal has spoken so clearly, there's no need to hide anymore. Let's see the door and see the mountain. This Xiao doesn't know what this Xiao has that Confucian cultivators can covet. Xiao Hua nodded. Do Shanjun stretched out his finger and shook in the air. He said with a smile, You naturally didn't have it before, but now you have it. 5 brocade, cloud painting. Xiao Hua's eyes narrowed as he looked at Do Shanjun. Fellow immortal Do's appetite is not small. Taoist Master Xiao is wrong. Do Shanjun said with a smile. I have already seen the 5 brocade cloud painting before. Why should I look for Taoist Master Xiao now? Oh, what is it? Xiao Hua was startled. His mind raced. He had obtained a lot of things from Lung Qingge and the others. He really did not know what Do Shanjun wanted. Suddenly, his heart lit up, and he laughed. So fellow immortal Do has taken a fancy to the 5-dragon imperial jade seal? Indeed, the 5-dragon Imperial Jade Seal was an item that could suppress one's luck and was extremely important to Confucian cultivators. This Doshan Jun must have been entrusted by the king of the Copper Pillar country, right? Unfortunately, Doshan Jun still shook his head. I have already said that I am not interested in the matters of Jiang country and Copper Pillar country. What I want is the 5-chi thunder. 5-chi thunder? Xiao Hua was truly surprised. He looked at Doshan Jun in disbelief. What do you want that for? I'm sorry, I have no comment. Doshan Jun shook his head in fear. If Taoist Master Xiao knows about this, it will be harmful. I'm sorry, I have a use for the 5-chi thunder. I'm afraid I can't give it to fellow immortal Do. Xiao Hua shook his head and replied. This time, it was Doshan Jun's turn to be shocked. He looked at Xiao Hua from head to toe and asked, What is it? Taoist Master Xiao, how did you discover the effects of the 5-chi thunder on a nascent soul stage in such a short period of time? Speaking to hear, Doshan Jun rubbed his chin with his hand and nodded with interest. Not bad. To be able to cultivate your nascent soul into a hidden nascent soul, and to be able to condense your nascent soul into a nebula, your luck is not just a little bit better than others. Furthermore, to dare to release your nascent soul from the 5-brocade cloud map, your guts are enough for you to discover the secrets within. Doshan Jun, who exactly are you? Xiao Hua could no longer sit still. He jumped up and placed his hand on the small universe bag and asked cautiously, Sit down, sit down. You're already a nascent soul stage grandmaster, and your strength is comparable to a spirit-severing stage cultivator. Why are you still so rough? Doshan Jun raised his hand and laughed, as if he was talking to a junior. You don't have to care who I am. You just have to know that I won't hurt you. Doshan Jun was so fearless, and even sat here to negotiate with him. At least his attitude made Xiao Hua feel amiable. If he really did have any ill intentions, why would Doshan Jun wait until now? Thinking to hear, Xiao Hua sat down and said, I have a use for this item. I can't give it to fellow immortal Do. All right, this item indeed has an inconceivable effect on condensing a nascent soul. Doshan Jun pondered for a moment, then nodded and said, Then I won't take it from you. However, could Taoist Master Xiao let me take a look at it? This. Xiao Hua was somewhat hesitant. After all, this item was extremely important to him, and Doshan Jun was an enemy, not a friend, who knew what he would do if he gave it to him. Doshan Jun's face turned cold, his expression somewhat unkind, and said indifferently, Xiao Hua, you don't trust Ren so much? If I had a heart, why would I be so long-winded with you? As soon as Doshan Jun said this, Xiao Hua's quiet room suddenly became as cold as winter. A kind of indescribable fear emerged in Xiao Hua's heart. This was a kind of omen that Xiao Hua couldn't resist against danger. Xiao Hua was startled, then said with a smile, Fellow immortal Do, you think too much. I was just thinking, this 5-chi legitimate thunder is so important. Even the Bagua Academy didn't let fellow immortal Do know about it. Now, I can't let fellow immortal Do see it for nothing, right? Ha ha ha. Doshan Jun laughed, thinking about how Xiao Hua blackmailed by Ho Yuqin and the others on the Black Wind Ridge, and how he mercilessly took away Lung Chinga's Chinquan bag. How could Doshan Jun not know that Xiao Hua wanted to obtain benefits from him? While laughing, the coldness in the quiet room disappeared. Do you want the Du Tian star formation or the method to refine jade talismans? Since Doshan Jun knew about Xiao Hua's narrow-mindedness, he didn't beat around the bush and directly asked. Xiao Hua beamed with joy, patted his small Chinquan bag, and took out the 5 silk handkerchief from his middle dantian, then said, Fellow immortal Do should take a look at this 5-chi legitimate thunder first. What star formation? What jade talisman? It's easy to talk about. How could Doshan Jun not see through Xiao Hua's little scheme? He only glanced at Xiao Hua's smiling face, then took the silk handkerchiefs. Doshan Jun didn't hide from Xiao Hua. A clear light slowly flashed in his eyes, and in an instant, a pure white appeared in his eyes. That pure white was extremely fast, and it didn't take long for it to diffuse into his pitch-black eyes. At first glance, Do Shanjun's eyes looked like a black and white grid. Tiny runes appeared on this black and white grid, and the runes were like ants rushing out, filling Do Shanjun's eyes. See, Dao sect runes. Xiao Hua sucked in a breath of cold air, and a kind of unimaginable feeling appeared in his heart. He stared at Do Shanjun without blinking, knowing that Do Shanjun was using a Dao sect divine ability that he didn't know about to probe these 5 silk handkerchiefs. As the runes in Do Shanjun's eyes changed, a kind of indescribable aura gradually emitted from Do Shanjun's body. Although this aura only leaked out a trace, it was enough to shock Xiao Hua once again. Strange, Do Shanjun didn't seem to notice Xiao Hua's gaze. He muttered, raised his hand, raised his index and middle finger, and pointed at his own forehead. Bang! A strange silver rune exploded in Do Shanjun's forehead, then disappeared in a flash. Looking at Do Shanjun's eyes again, those runes suddenly flashed with 5 colors, extremely bright. Chapter 35-33. Whoosh! The 5-colored brilliance was extremely dazzling. Xiao Hua's vision blurred, and he couldn't see Do Shanjun's appearance clearly. When Xiao Hua closed his eyes and opened them again, the brilliance in Do Shanjun's eyes gradually dissipated, revealing the black and white starry eyes from before. Obviously, Do Shanjun's eyes carried a hint of disappointment. Do Shanjun didn't intend to hide it from Xiao Hua. What? Xiao Hua frowned. This thing isn't the real 5-Chi thunder? Yes. Do Shanjun nodded. This is a fake. However, it's not beyond my expectations. The Immortal Palace wouldn't give the real 5-brocade cloud painting and 5-Chi thunder to Tong Zhugua. Ah, the Immortal Palace? Xiao Hua was shocked. What does this have to do with the Immortal Palace? How would I know? Do Shanjun waved his hand and threw 5 silk handkerchiefs to Xiao Hua. Although this thing is a fake, it seems like it was refined by the great artificer of the Immortal Palace. It's still useful for you. Yes. Xiao Hua was somewhat disappointed, but he still hurriedly took the 5 silk handkerchiefs. Tell me, which one do you want? After a moment, Do Shanjun's expression returned to normal. He said indifferently, I won't look at your things for free. Don't. Xiao Hua smiled and waved his hand. Fellow Immortal Do didn't take it away. You just want to look at it. Why? If you don't want it, then I'm leaving. Do Shanjun's expression was calm as he pretended to get up. Don't. Xiao Hua still said the word don't, but the meaning was completely different. Fellow Immortal Do, let me think for a moment. Yes, the time it takes to brew a cup of tea. Do Shanjun frowned and ignored Xiao Hua. He looked at the ground as if he was thinking about something. This matter was very important. Xiao Hua rolled his eyes and smiled. I won't hide it from fellow Immortal Do Tian. The Do Tian star array was refined by me. Naturally, I don't need this array diagram. Okay, then I'll give you the refining method of the Jade Talisman. Do Shanjun said. But just as he reached his hand into his pocket, Xiao Hua hurriedly said, The refining method of the Jade Talisman? You don't need to be in such a hurry. Oh, what do you want? Do Shanjun raised his eyebrows and sneered. Don't be too greedy. Fellow Immortal Do, look, this Xiao doesn't want it anymore, but you insist on giving it to me. This Xiao doesn't care about those 2 things of yours. Xiao Hua said with a bitter smile. Do Shanjun snorted and said, Tell me, what do you want? I want a cultivation technique. Xiao Hua narrowed his eyes and said greedily, From nascent soul to spirit severing, and even Mayana to tribulation transcendence cultivation techniques. See, Do Shanjun sucked in a breath of cold air, his face turning cold. Xiao Hua felt that his entire body was unable to move, and the quiet room's surroundings were once again filled with ice like before. How did you find out? Do Shanjun asked coldly, his eyes filled with confusion. Not to mention Do Shanjun not explaining. Xiao Hua was also shocked. He really didn't know how he provoked Do Shanjun hearing Do Shanjun's question. Xiao Hua didn't know whether to laugh or cry and replied, Immortal friend Do, what did I find? What secrets do you have that you're afraid I'll discover? I just don't have a spirit-severing cultivation technique. I just want to ask if you have one or not. If you don't have it, you don't have to do this, right? Oh, Doshan Jun's expression slightly relaxed. After pondering for a bit, the surrounding coldness disappeared, but Xiao Hua still couldn't move. Damn it, what kind of monster is this guy? Xiao Hua was even more puzzled by Doshan Jun in front of him. With this kind of strength, I'm afraid he's at the 7th or 8th level of elemental energy. Doshan Jun stared at Xiao Hua for a long time. Seeing that Xiao Hua's gaze was pure and didn't seem to be fake, he slightly nodded and said, Taoist Master Xiao, you are really greedy, ah? Hee, there are really too few high-level cultivation techniques in Hidden Immortal Continent. I want to grab all the opportunities one can. Xiao Hua laughed, looking very calm. Grab all the opportunities you can? Doshan Jun's eyes seemed to light up. He slightly nodded. You're right. I was too careful before. Of course, in Hidden Immortal Continent, there's still too few cultivators like you who can suppress an entire country and whose strength can also reach the 5th level of elemental energy. Xiao Hua stared blankly. He somewhat didn't understand what Doshan Jun said. He didn't even know what he said wrong. Seeing Xiao Hua in a daze, Doshan Jun slightly smiled. He took out a jade eye scroll and handed it to Xiao Hua. Oh, this is the cultivation technique you want. But I only have cultivation techniques before the Mahayana stage. I don't have anything else. Xiao Hua was really overjoyed. He stretched out his hand and wanted to grab it faster than lightning. Unfortunately, Doshan Jun was still a bit faster than him. He withdrew his hand and laughed. Taoist Master Xiao, don't be anxious. I still have something to say. Hee. Xiao Hua's face was a bit hot. He laughed embarrassedly and said, Isn't Taoist Do making fun of me? You already said you want to give it to me. It's not that I don't want to give it. It's that I want to discuss a cooperation with Taoist Master Xiao. Doshan Jun's expression became indifferent again. He said, I wonder if Taoist Master Xiao is willing. I'm not willing. Xiao Hua decisively shook his head and replied, Why? Why didn't Taoist Master listen to what the matter is and immediately refused? Doshan Jun felt very strange. Xiao Hua sighed and said, Counting with my fingers, I have already cooperated with more than one Taoist master. It seems every time we cooperate, strange things will happen. There has never been a single time that went smoothly. Therefore, I still have lingering fears about these cooperation. So that's how it is. Doshan Jun's smile was very strange. It seemed like he was smiling insincerely. That's not strange. If he was confident, why would he look for another helper? Since you want to be his helper, if you want to get benefits, you naturally have to help him deal with those accidents. But the problem is, I don't want to get these benefits. Xiao Hua was very distressed. The bitter smile on his face became even stronger. You don't want? If you don't want to get benefits, then why are you asking me for a cultivation technique? Doshan Jun smiled coldly. Moreover, I saw your fight with Longqinga. Although your strength is at the 5th grade of essence energy, in reality, you can only display an upper 4th grade of essence energy. Your magic power is very vigorous, but unfortunately, you can't use your techniques. You can only display 70% of your magic power. Also, your magic treasure is also not good. It can't match your magic power. Also, your divine sense was refined with a secret technique, but you don't know how to use it at all. That shapeless 5 elements, wishful heaven cudgel of yours, was also forged incorrectly. Longqinga and the others are indeed much worse than you. They were also frightened by your magic power otherwise. Xiao Hua sucked in a breath of cold air again. These were all secrets that he was well aware of. He didn't expect that Doshan Jun would see them all. Xiao Hua couldn't help but ask, Who are you exactly? I'm a Confucian cultivator. You don't need to think too much. Doshan Jun said indifferently. You only need to know that if you cooperate with me, not only can you obtain a cultivation technique, you can also make up for these flaws. Xiao Hua was really hesitating. This temptation was too great. You should think about it. Doshan Jun raised his hand, and the jade eye fell into Xiao Hua's hand. He lowered his head and looked at the ground. his brows slightly wrinkled as if he was thinking about something. Xiaohua took the jade eye and scanned it with his divine sense. He couldn't help but be shocked. This jade eye wasn't ordinary. It was the ink cloud pupil. After Xiaohua briefly read through the contents, his heart couldn't help but beat wildly. There was indeed a cultivation method inside, and it was something that could be cultivated from the yuanying stage. The chant was obscure and looked very difficult to understand, but Xiaohua knew that what was inside was true based on what he had comprehended. Damn, this Doshan Jun. I'm afraid he's not a simple Confucian cultivator. Could he be a descendant of a first-class family? Xiaohua put away the ink cloud pupil and thought to himself, his identity is probably not easy to investigate, but he's looking for me. For what? The authentic 5-chi thunder? If that's really the case, he might have gotten benefits, but I might also get benefits from the 5-chi thunder. Forget it, I should ask first. Thinking of this, Doshan Jun raised his head and asked indifferently, Taoist Master Xiao, have you thought it through? Of course. Xiaohua said with a smile. People die for wealth and birds die for food. Cultivators have always lost their lives. In order to live forever, I'm going all out. However, Taoist though, can you tell me a thing or two first, so that I can think about it a little more? Impossible. Doshan Jun sneered. I've always been a lone wolf. Today, after hearing what you said and seeing that your cultivation is not bad, I'm thinking of cooperating for the first time. As for what it is, you don't need to know now. You just need to do your best to cultivate, and when the time comes, as long as you have enough strength, I'll naturally look for you. Then, you have to tell me what the benefits are, right? How about what Taoist Master Do said earlier? Xiaohua squinted his eyes and asked with a smile. Taoist Master Xiao, you have to change this greed of yours. Otherwise, I'm afraid it will bring a lot of trouble to your cultivation in the future. Doshan Jun replied with a smile. I'll pick one. Anyone, Taoist Master Do, can satisfy me? Xiaohua probed. Doshan Jun said impatiently, Of course I can. Hurry up and say it. The method of using divine sense. Xiaohua seemed to have already thought it through. As soon as Doshan Jun's voice fell, he immediately answered. Doshan Jun was obviously stunned and said curiously, I thought you would want a magic treasure that is worthy of your magic power. Hee, I have a lot of magic treasures. I can slowly refine them. But this divine sense, it really makes me worried. Xiaohua replied with a smile. And I have to praise you. Your choice is right. Now, where in the hidden immortal continent would there be a way to use divine sense? Doshan Jun nodded slightly. He clapped his hand and took out another ink eye. However, his finger moved again and another ink eye appeared in his hand. He handed it to Xiaohua and said, This is the secret technique you want. In addition, I'll also give you the method of refining jade talismans. If you can complete the capital star array, it will also be good for me. Chapter 35-34. Great! How could Xiaohua, who liked to take advantage of others, not be happy when he saw such a big advantage? Then, he immediately kept Mo Yuntong in his space and would never let these Mo Yuntong stand out again. Seeing that Xiaohua had kept Mo Yuntong, Doshan Jun did not hesitate. He stood up and said, I will be leaving when I have the chance. I will look for you. Is it that simple? Xiaohua anxiously stood up and asked curiously, Fellow immortal, aren't you going to leave a sound transmission talisman or something? There's no need. If I want to find you, there are plenty of ways. Doshan Jun waved his hand nonchalantly and said, Remove the formation. All right. Xiaohua looked helpless. He felt that the 3 Mo Yuntong S were a little hot. All right. Just as Xiaohua was about to put away the capital star formation, Doshan Jun suddenly thought of something and anxiously said, That day, you took the 5-dragon imperial jade seal from the Confucian cultivator. That thing is not something that can be used by a Taoist cultivator to establish a country. You should give it to me. Why? How could Xiaohua, who even pulled out a strand of hair for half a day, easily agree? Doshan Jun snorted coldly and said, This 5-dragon imperial jade seal was passed down by the Confucian cultivator in the ancient times and was bestowed by the immortal palace. Whoever obtains, it will be the true son of heaven recognized by the immortal palace. Furthermore, if you keep this 5-dragon imperial jade seal, what about the other Confucian cultivators, other countries, and those aristocratic families? Will they think so? Aren't you causing trouble for Jiang country? Do you want your Black Cloud Ridge to never have a peaceful day from now on? If fellow immortal did not say so, I would have taken this 5-dragon imperial jade seal as the imperial jade seal of Jiang country. Xiaohua immediately understood and laughed. I never thought that this 5-dragon imperial jade seal would actually be such a hot potato. It's not just a hot potato. It's also the ambition of the king of the Copper Pillar country. Do Shan Jun sneered. If Ing Hong did not obtain this item, how could he have the heart to destroy Jiang country and the thought of building an empire? That Jiang country is just the beginning. There will be Jiasa country, and so on and so forth. Then, if I return this jade seal to the Copper Pillar country, wouldn't that mean that I will be helping the tyrant and even increase their strength? Wouldn't it be even more difficult for my country to recover? Xiaohua was a little hesitant. Do Shan Jun shrugged his shoulders and said with a smile, "Do as you please. If I'm not mistaken, Ing Hong has already spread the news that the Imperial Jade Seal is in your hands. It wouldn't be long before Confucian cultivators or soldiers from other countries would come to rob them. How did you establish your country?" Forget it. Xiaohua waved his hand and said, "I've obtained a great deal of benefits from fellow immortal today, so I'll give this Imperial Jade Seal to fellow immortal. Consider it as giving fellow immortal a great merit." After saying that, Xiaohua reluctantly took out the 5-dragon Imperial Jade Seal from his meridians and gave it to Do Shan Jun. This thing was able to draw out Xiaohua's dragon vein, so there must be something fishy about it. Xiaohua didn't discover this fishy thing, so he couldn't help but feel unhappy. Great merit? Not bad. Do Shan Jun tilted his head as if he had thought of something. He smiled and said, "I didn't think about this before. It seems that I can do something with this thing." Fellow Taoist Do, no matter what you do, it's better to spread the news that this item has already fallen into the Copper Pillar Academy. Xiaohua anxiously shouted. Do Shan Jun took the Imperial Jade Seal and impatiently waved his hand. "Do I need you to tell me that? How could I take advantage of you for nothing?" Seeing Do Shan Jun keep the Imperial Jade Seal, Xiaohua kept the capital star formation, and when he sent Do Shan Jun out of the quiet room, He had already stood up and stood together with Wang Bianfei. "Taoist master, Xiao has good eyes. These two are both people with good bones. Congratulations." Do Shan Jun's face returned to its previous state. Although he was congratulating him, there was no smile on his face. How could that be? They are all poor children who were casually picked up by me. How can they compare to the elites of the Copper Pillar Academy? Xiaohua smiled faintly and said, "When you return to the academy, you can bring my gratitude to the Northern Gua Academy." It's really hard for him to collect so many books. Originally, there was no need to hide anything in front of Liu Yi and Wang Bianfei, but since Do Shan Jun wanted to hide it, Xiaohua had to say some words to show that he would not reveal anything. Do Shan Jun was indeed very satisfied. He stopped and respectfully said, "Taoist master, please wait. I will definitely bring Taoist master's good intentions back to the Copper Pillar Academy. The matter of war is a war between two countries. Cultivators of my generation should focus on cultivation and should not get involved in war." "Good, Taoist master Do. Please take care." Xiaohua nodded and walked to the top of the cave residence. He sat down and looked at Do Shan Jun, who hurried out of the cave residence with an indifferent expression. He really didn't expect Do Shan Jun's cultivation to be so high. Moreover, from the divine ability he revealed, he was a Taoist senior. His cultivation had probably reached the Mahayana stage. However, he was somewhat confused. Why would such a powerful figure hide in the Copper Pillar Academy? In particular, this Taoist senior actually practiced the divine ability of Confucianism. Not only did he practice the wood essence, but he also practiced the Z. Is this senior hiding from something? Xiaohua secretly thought. However, looking at his appearance today, he He seems to be looking for something. Is it the 5-chi thunder? What does he want the authentic 5-chi thunder for? Thinking of this, Xiao Hua seemed to be enlightened. It was very obvious that the fake 5-chi thunder obtained by Lung Qingge was extremely beneficial to Xiao Hua's yuanying growth. Its effect even surpassed the scarlet heart fruit that Xiao Hua just obtained. Of course, it was not only more effective than the crimson heart fruit. Although Xiao Hua had obtained the crimson heart fruit, he did not have a method to refine it, so he did not dare to consume it directly. Even if he refined the crimson heart fruit into a medicinal pill, it would have an obvious effect when consumed in the early nascent soul stage. When consumed in the middle nascent soul stage, the medicinal pill's effect would certainly be greatly reduced. How could it have the long-term effect of the 5-chi righteous thunder nourishing the nascent soul every day? Since Xiao Hua's yuanying could benefit from this 5-chi thunder, why couldn't Do Shanjuan's yuanying benefit from the 5-chi thunder? This senior probably wants to find the authentic 5-chi thunder to wait for a chance to enter Mahayana realm or undergo tribulation. Xiao Hua did not know if his thoughts were correct, but there was a trace of luck in his heart. Fortunately, this Xiao did not offend him too much that day, and this Xiao fought with him for the righteousness of the Taoist sect. Even if he was unhappy, he would not say anything. To be able to bestow the cultivation method today, he should have the intention of valuing me. I did not expect the hidden immortal continent to have such a powerful Taoist cultivator. This is really out of this Zhao's expectations. In that case, the other Taoist seniors should also be hiding in various places of the hidden immortal continent with various appearances. Right? There's also that senior who escaped from the Western CEI. He should be one of the best, right? While Xiao Hua was guessing, Wang Wanfei took 2 steps forward and said in a low voice, "Old Master." Hearing that Old Master has come out of seclusion, Xiao Jian, the princess of Chongling, Black Bear, Qin Shu, and the others have all come to greet you. Ask them if there is anything important, Xiao Hua said with a smile. If there's nothing, let them return. Yes, Wang Wanfei responded. But a while later, he turned back with Qin Xiaoyao behind him. Old Master, Xiao Jian, and the others do not have anything important. They just want to report on the progress of reviving the country. This one knows that Old Master is impatient with these things and sent them away. Wang Wanfei said respectfully, Black Bear and Qin Shu have important matters to report. This one will bring Qin Shu in first. Good, Xiao Hua nodded. Wait for the 2 at the door. After the 2 left, Xiao Hua said with a smile, Xiaoyao, what matter do you have? This disciple greets Old Master. I wish Old Master well. Qin Xiaoyao did not dare to slight and went forward to bow. And rise. Xiao Hua nodded. Qin Xiaoyao stood up and said, according to Old Master's previous arrangements, this disciple has 3 matters to report to Old Master today. Speak. Xiao Hua had the bearing of a master at this time and said, the first is about Old Master's instructions to the Fortune Gate. This disciple has taken 3 people with similar cultivation to this disciple into the Fortune Gate's outer sect. As this disciple's junior brothers, they are Jiangming, Qin Xingyi, and Jiang Haodong. These 3 junior brothers knew about Old Master's plan and were very happy. Moreover, our relationship is harmonious. Although our positions were different before, now that we are all junior brothers, we are very harmonious. The 46 disciples of Jiang country in the Black Wind Ridge were also taken in by this disciple and the other 3. There are 13 disciples under this disciple and 11 disciples under the other junior brothers. They are considered second-generation disciples. These disciples have good and bad aptitudes. The specific situation depends on their luck in the future. There are a total of 671 Tao soldiers. Although Old Master said to pick some with good aptitudes, this disciple has checked some of the Tao soldiers. Their aptitudes are more or less the same. They are much better than the average disciple, but they are slightly worse than this disciple's disciples. If Old Master really wants to pick, he should be able to pick some that are similar to the second-generation disciples. However, This disciple feels that our fortune gate has just been established and does not have many disciples. Moreover, if we choose some and not others, it will easily make the selected disciples arrogant, and those who are not selected feel disappointed. Therefore, this disciple simply took them into the fortune gate's outer sect, allowing them to worship the second-generation disciples separately. They are considered third-generation disciples. These Tao soldiers are usually trained by these disciples. When they heard that they were accepted into our fortune gate's outer sect, they were very grateful. Especially old masters' magic tools, medicinal pills, and cultivation techniques, they were overjoyed. And not bad. Xiao Hua smiled and said, "You don't need to worry about external cultivation materials. There will be no shortage in the future. Moreover, if there are exceptional disciples, they will have a chance to enter the fortune gate's inner sect. This old man will personally guide them. Many thanks for old master's kindness." Qin Xiaoyao was even happier and said, "However, this disciple is unable to find the demon spirits that old master mentioned that are fated with our Tao gate. Moreover, the black bear, golden eagle, and white lion do not allow this disciple to choose disciples from the demon spirits. Forgive this disciple for not being able to complete old master's decree." Chapter 35:35. Haha, this is not your fault. Xiao Hua nodded. Let Black Bear, Golden Eagle, and White Lion worry about the spirit demons. This old man doesn't understand the cultivation method of the spirit demons. In the future, just treat them as a branch of the fortune gate. Yes, Master is wise, Qin Xiaoyao said with a smile. That's all there is to the fortune gate. After all, it has only been a short time. This disciple can't do much. Good. Xiao Hua nodded and said loudly, "Where is Lu Yi? This little one is here." Lu Yi hurriedly ran into the cave and shouted, "What orders does Master have?" "Go and call Jiangming, Qin Qingyi, and Jiang Haodong," Xiao Hua ordered. Lu Yi acknowledged and left. Xiao Hua looked at Qin Xiaoyao and asked with interest, "Xiaoyao, you took in hundreds of Tao soldiers under your wing. Are you afraid that you will not be able to contend against the Fae of Black Cloud Ridge in the future?" When Qin Xiaoyao heard this, panic appeared on his face. He knelt down and kowtowed. "Master, please forgive me. When this disciple did this disciple did not have such thoughts. However, when all the Tao soldiers were assigned to the second-generation disciples, this disciple suddenly became vigilant. This disciple, I'm afraid this is a natural reaction to guard against Black Bear and the other's strength. However, the matter has already been done. If this disciple goes back on his words, it will be even more disadvantageous for this disciple. Therefore, this disciple can only make the best of it. If Master doesn't like it, this disciple will go back and correct it. And since that's the case, you don't have to change it." Xiao Hua frowned and said, "Human nature has always been somewhat scheming. If you're thinking of danger in times of peace, that's fine. Even what you think may not be the truth, but the fortune gate is in this old man's hands. This old man does not want it to be too dirty. Perhaps you will have some competition, but this old man feels that these competitions should be placed on the surface. You don't have to look down on Black Bear and the other spirit demons, and Black Bear and the others don't have to see you as enemies. Master is right, but if this is really the case, it will be extremely difficult." Qin Xiaoyao did not dare to get up and knelt on the ground. Even in the previous Jiang country, there was not much of a gap between the first and second imperial masters. However, due to the interests of their disciples, there were many disagreements in the imperial court. Yes, I know I'm too idealistic, but how can there be reality if I'm not idealistic? Xiao Hua chuckled. How about this pass down my decree? Anyone who enters my fortune gate, whether it's the so-called inner or outer disciples, is forbidden from killing each other. If anyone is found to have done so, I will kill them. Understand? Qin Xiaoyao bit her lips and nodded. In addition, the imperial court of the Jiang country is not a place for us to cultivate. Tell the disciples that there is no need to be greedy for the temptations of the mortal world, and do not involve themselves in the affairs of the Jiang country. When Qin Xiaoyao heard this, he hastily called out, "Master, this matter is somewhat inappropriate. Master, please listen to this disciple's report." Go ahead. The path of cultivation is extremely difficult. 1 in 100 may not even make it to the top. The remaining 99% are aiming for the mundane world's glory and wealth. If Master were to cut off their path, who would want to join our Fortune Gate? Also, if my Fortune Gate's disciples do not participate in the imperial court, then how can Jiang country worship my Fortune Gate? When Tao cultivators establish a country, what they establish is the foundation of the Tao sect. If Master is not in Jiang country to control the imperial court, how can you establish a country? Qin Xiaoyao knew that Xiaohua did not understand this, and hastily suggested. Xiaohua laughed. Hee, this old man has never set his sights on a small country like Jiang country. However, since my Fortune Gate's wings are not fully grown yet, I'm afraid I can only continue what you did before. But, Qin Xiaoyao, remember, if anyone is greedy for glory and wealth, this old man will definitely not let them enter the Fortune Gate's inner sect. Yes, this disciple will remember. Qin Xiaoyao hastily replied. Get up, Jiang Ming and the others have arrived. Xiaohua calmed down and waved his hand, signaling Qin Xiaoyao to get up. Qin Xiaoyao hastily stood up and wiped off the sweat on his forehead. Although Xiaohua did not get angry when he questioned him, the pressure coming from Xiaohua's body made him feel an irresistible pressure. Everything in his heart seemed to have been seen through by Xiaohua, and the feeling of being seen through really made him uncomfortable. Of course, he was still glad that Xiaohua's thoughts were exactly the pursuit of a cultivator. He had no reason not to agree and abide by Xiaohua's wishes. Master, Jiang Ming, Qin Xingyi, and Jiang Haodong are here to greet you. Qin Xiaoyao had just stood up when Lu Yi arrived with the 3 disciples. Jiang Ming, Qin Xingyi, and Jiang Haodong followed behind Lu Yi and hurriedly knelt down and kowtowed. Disciple greets Master. Get up. Xiaohua looked at the 3 disciples who were similar in age to Qin Xiaoyao. Their faces were filled with excitement, and with a flick of his sleeve, he lifted them up. Yes, Master. The 3 disciples stood up, looked around, and respectfully stood beside Qin Xiaoyao. Jiang Ming looked at Qin Xiaoyao's pale face, and his heart skipped a beat. He looked around and asked in a low voice, Master, may I know, why did Master summon this disciple here? Xiaohua chuckled. All of you are my Fortune Gate's first-generation disciples. If your cultivation is not high, this old man would be ashamed. Today, I called all of you here to see your cultivation and see if this old man can give you some pointers. Jiang Ming and the others were overjoyed and hurriedly bowed. Many thanks for Master's guidance. This disciple is eternally grateful. Qin Xiaoyao, come with this old man first. Xiaohua flew into the quiet room and ordered. Me? Qin Xiaoyao was taken aback. He had already received pointers from Xiaohua and had benefited greatly from it. He didn't expect Xiaohua to call him first. Jiang Ming smiled and said, Senior brother Qin, go ahead. You are our eldest senior brother. Why don't you go first? Qin Xiaoyao was full of gratitude and hurriedly followed behind Xiaohua. Xiaohua was the first to call him. Perhaps he wouldn't give him any pointers, but at least he had given him face. Moreover, this also showed that Xiaohua wasn't really angry. After entering the quiet room, Xiaohua sat on a praying mat and pointed to the place where Do Shanjun had been. Close your eyes and face the sky, just like normal cultivation. Do not rashly use your quintessence. Yes, this disciple understands. Seeing that Xiaohua was very serious, Qin Xiaoyao didn't dare to neglect and hurriedly sat down. Then Xiaohua took out the soul bridge again. With Lu Yi and Wang Bianfei's spirit enchantment, it wasn't too troublesome for Qin Xiaoyao, Jiang Ming, Qin Xingyi, and Jiang Haodong. In just 2 hours, the seal of the 3 people's spiritual energy was broken. What surprised Xiaohua the most was that the disciple named Qin Xingyi actually didn't have a seal on his spiritual energy. This situation made Xiaohua a little confused. Previously, he thought that Lu Yi and the others couldn't cultivate because of the seal. Now that he saw that Jiang Ming and the others could still cultivate with the seal, it meant that the seal was actually not directly related to cultivation. It should be related to the spiritual energy and cultivation. Moreover, Xiaohua first saw that Qin Xiaoyao had a seal and thought that all the humans in the hidden immortal continent would have a seal. However, Qin Qingyi overturned his inference. Forget it. This matter involves too many things. It's not something that I can figure out at this time. At this time, Xiaohua had some understanding that the spirit root was really the foundation of cultivation. In the future, if he could find a disciple whose spiritual energy wasn't sealed, that meant that the disciple had a spirit root, then this disciple should be able to cultivate easily. Then, Xiaohua told Jiang Ming and the other two about their cultivation methods. Xiaohua found that Qin Qingyi was the youngest among the four people, but his cultivation was the highest. Similarly, his understanding of the Dao sect's cultivation methods was also the most profound. After guiding the four people's cultivation and bestowing them with cultivation methods, spirit pills, and magic tools, Xiaohua took out 4 jade eyes and handed them to the 4 people, instructing, "This is a simple secret technique. You can all practice it. After practicing this secret technique, you can use the secret technique to find a disciple or a Dao soldier with a spirit root. You can focus on cultivating the disciples with spirit root. Dao soldiers with spirit root can be promoted to the 2nd generation of disciples." The secret technique recorded in the Jade Eyes was the result of Xiaohua's comprehension during this period of time. Ordinary Dao sect cultivators could use this secret technique to find whether there were traces of a seal in the spiritual energy sky. Spirit root? Qin Xiaoyao and the others were surprised. Obviously, it was the first time they heard this name. Haha, everything is recorded in the Jade Eyes. I'll leave this matter to you. Xiaohua smiled and said, "In the future, the disciples of my fortune gate will be based on the spirit root." Yes, disciple understands. Qin Xiaoyao and the others carefully put away the Jade Eyes. Xiaohua seemed to have thought of something and said, "Also, among your disciples, if they don't have spirit root, choose some clever and loyal ones. When this old man has time, I'll enchant them." Yes. Although everyone was a little confused, they still respectfully agreed. "Xiaoyao, stay. You all can go." Xiaohua looked a little tired and said with a wave of his sleeve. After waiting for Jiang Ming and the others to leave, Qin Xiaoyao said with a smile, "Master, you've worked hard just now. Why don't we talk about the other 2 matters tomorrow?" "No matter, just say it," Xiaohua said with a smile. "The second matter is about Jiang Country's 2nd state preceptor Li Xiang. Senior Li," Qin Xiaoyao said carefully, "disciple has received information that Senior Li did not fall in Jiang Country, but was imprisoned in the Jade Mountains dungeon by Tongzhu Gua. Senior Li's dozens of disciples were imprisoned with him." After Qin Xiaoyao finished speaking, he lowered his head and looked at the ground with a flicker in his eyes. He actually did not understand the real purpose of Xiaohua's order to find Li Xiang's whereabouts that day. Logically speaking, Xiaohua's strength was far beyond Li Xiang's, but after all, Xiaohua did not have any power in Jiang Country. The so-called Fortune Gate was just newly established and could not be compared to Li Xiang's power in Jiang Country. If Xiaohua really rescued Li Xiang and the dozens of disciples, who knew who the Fortune Gate would belong to in the end? Did Xiaohua have other intentions for looking for Li Xiang? Oh, Li Xiang was actually not killed by the king of Tongzhu Gua? Xiaohua was a little surprised, and you found out that he was imprisoned in the Jade Mountains dungeon so easily? Chapter 35-36. That's right. Master's doubts are also this disciple's doubts. Qin Xiaoyao hurriedly added, "This disciple suspects that this is a trap set by the Copper Pillar State. They are trying to lure Master to take the bait." Hee. The Copper Pillar State doesn't even have an imperial preceptor now. How long can they last? They actually dared to set a trap? Wouldn't that mean that their monarch is tired of living? Xiaohua sneered. Qin Xiaoyao hurriedly added, "Master, don't be careless. After all, the Copper Pillar State is a country of Confucian cultivators. Even if they don't have a ruler, other countries still have a ruler. Perhaps the Copper Pillar State is colluding with other countries to set a trap for Master? There is such a possibility. Xiao Hua immediately thought of Do Shanjun's warning before he left. Perhaps the Copper Pillar State and other Confucian cultivators were using Li Xiang as bait to trick him. This is bad. Thinking of this, Xiao Hua immediately came to a realization. Since he had given the Imperial Jade Seal to Do Shanjun, when Do Shanjun returned to the Copper Pillar State, he would definitely present the Imperial Jade Seal to the ruler. Then, wouldn't Li Xiang be useless? Would the ruler of the Copper Pillar State immediately kill Li Xiang? The most important thing right now is to go to the Jade Mountains underground prison. Where is the Jade Mountains underground prison? Xiao Hua asked. Hearing Xiao Hua asking for the location of the Jade Mountain without much thought, Qin Xiaoyao felt an indescribable feeling in his heart. He understood that Xiao Hua wanted to go to the Jade Mountain to rescue Li Xiang. But the problem was that after Li Xiang was rescued, he would come to the Fortune Gate with several dozen disciples. What would Xiao Hua do? This thought had just flashed through his mind, and now it was surging up again. Thinking about what Xiao Hua had said to him before, Qin Xiaoyao smiled bitterly. He took out a jade eye from his bosom and handed it over to Xiao Hua. He said, "This jade eye records the address of the previous Jade Mountain. However, this disciple still has to remind Master that saving people may be necessary, but the arrangements after saving people may not be satisfactory. Just like what Master just said, you must always be on guard against human nature. AI, perhaps." Xiao Hua saw Qin Xiaoyao frown several times because of Li Xiang's matter. He wanted to say something, but stopped himself. How could he not know what Qin Xiaoyao was thinking? Today, my Dao sect has withered. This old man also wants to hold up the sky with one hand. Unfortunately, this old man's ability is limited. This Fortune Gate is this old master's and also yours. You have placed the Fortune Gate in your hearts, and this old master will cherish it. If anyone covets it, then this old master will not be polite. You don't need to worry about that. Yes, Master understands. These disciples are relieved. Qin Xiaoyao let out a long sigh of relief and said, "However, I feel that compared to the previous matter, the third matter is slightly more important." "Oh, what's the third thing?" Xiao Hua asked curiously. "The gathering of the Jade Pavilion," Qin Xiaoyao said with a smile. "Didn't I say it before? On the hidden immortal mainland. If I want to be a country's teacher, I must obtain the approval of the Dao sect. To put it bluntly, to reassure the Confucian cultivators, I must participate in this gathering of the Jade Pavilion. Previously, I didn't know how to participate, nor did I know the name of the gathering of the Jade Pavilion. Some time ago, Marshal Uncle Qingyu was overseeing the Black Wind Ridge. I asked him and confirmed this matter. Moreover, from what Marshal Uncle Qingyu said, this gathering of the Jade Pavilion is held once every 5 years. It will be held at the beginning of next year. Counting on my fingers, this is the right time for Master to get up." "Humph," Xiao Hua sneered. "The gathering of the Jade Pavilion. I don't know if it is the Dao sect's gathering or the Confucian cultivators' gathering. Our Dao sect's cultivators are in charge of a country, and the Confucian cultivators are relieved?" Qin Xiaoyao smiled and said, "People under the eaves have to bow their heads. If Master has the ability of the Immortal Palace, you probably don't need to look at the face of the Confucian cultivators. But today, our Fortune Gate has just been established. This work of face still needs to be done. Moreover, Master has just killed the Copper Pillar State Preceptor. If you don't go to the gathering of the Jade Pavilion, I'm afraid it will arouse the dissatisfaction of the Confucian cultivators. At that time, it will be difficult for Master to handle, and it will be difficult for Jiang country to recover. It will also be difficult for our Fortune Gate to develop. This old man naturally knows this." Xiao Hua laughed and said, "It's not like this old man hasn't lived a life of suppressing my tale. If I pretend, this old man can pretend better than you. Forget it. Let's go take a look and see what kind of situation our Dao sect has on the hidden immortal mainland. Congratulations on Master's victorious return." Qin Xiaoyao hurriedly bowed and handed over a jade eye. Victorious return? Xiao Hua was stunned. He took the jade eye and asked curiously, "Is there a fight at the gathering of the Jade Pavilion?" "Yes." Qin Xiaoyao smiled and said, "To obtain the approval of the Dao Sec seniors, there must be a competition. With Master's skill, you will definitely suppress everyone. However, Master should take it easy. Who knows which cultivator is the Confucian cultivator spy? If Master shows off his ability, he will be killed by the Confucian cultivator. And this old man knows." Xiao Hua nodded and took out a small cosmos pouch and handed it to Qin Xiaoyao, saying, "These are some pills that this old man refined according to Qin Qingyu's jade eye. There is also a training method for a formation. Take it and comprehend it yourself. Then, according to the requirements of the formation, gather the second and third generation disciples of the Fortune Gates outer court and practice according to the situation." Qin Xiaoyao received the small cosmos pouch and swept it with his divine sense. Ecstasy appeared on his face again. He knelt down and kowtowed without thinking and said, "Master is really generous. This kind of pill, AI, this disciple won't say anything. Even if those Dao soldiers died, they wouldn't have been able to obtain one in the past. The past is the past. Now, all of you are my Fortune Gates disciples, so you can't favor one and discriminate against the other. You have to know that this is nothing. You are the most precious part of my Fortune Gate." Xiao Hua helped Qin Xiaoyao up and said, "Also, the Black Bear Spirit and the others don't understand our Dao Gates training method. When you understand it, you have to teach it to them. Of course, this old man will tell the Black Bear Spirit." Qin Xiaoyao nodded. "This disciple understands. This disciple will go and distribute these pills, supervise them to cultivate and properly train the formation." "Good, call the Black Bear Spirit in." Xiao Hua waved his hand, indicating Qin Xiaoyao to leave. Not long after, the Black Bear Spirit ran in and threw himself in front of Xiao Hua, crying bitterly, "Master why did you go into seclusion for 100 days? This little one missed you so much that he didn't eat or drink. This little one was so worried that he wanted to kill this little one." Sweat. Xiao Hua looked at the cowardly Black Bear Spirit who loved to bootlick and chuckled. "If you want to learn, you should look for Wang Yifei. Lu Yi's knowledge is half-baked. You won't be able to learn anything from him." Master, how did you know?" The Black Bear Spirit raised his head, his nose full of tears, looking very pitiful. The two little black bears' eyes were still filled with confusion. "Damn it." Xiao Hua kicked the Black Bear Spirit's shoulder and said angrily, "What do you mean you don't eat or drink? Go tell that to that female bear of yours who watches the stars and the moon every day. Don't show off in front of this old man. Hurry and stand up for this old man." "Yes, Master." The Black Bear Spirit stood up with a bitter face, looking very wronged. "This little one doesn't understand these things. Whatever Brother Lu tells this little one will say it accordingly." "Forget it." Xiao Hua couldn't be bothered to say more to this Black Bear Spirit who was more cunning than him, but couldn't get the point every time. He waved his hand and asked. Hearing Xiao Hua's question, the Black Bear Spirit acted like he was going to throw himself in front of Xiao Hua again. However, looking at Xiao Hua's slightly raised foot, he didn't dare and stood there in a daze. "What's wrong?" Xiao Hua was surprised. "Why don't you dare to say it? Master, you have to make a decision for this little one." The Black Bear Spirit finally threw himself on the ground again. However, this time, he was smart and kept a distance from Xiao Hua's leg. Seeing the Black Bear Spirit's appearance, Xiao Hua didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Even if the Black Bear Spirit was lying outside the cave, if Xiao Hua wanted to kick him, wouldn't he still be able to do so? Therefore, Xiao Hua could only say unhappily, "What's wrong? Did Qin Xiaoyao bully you?" "Qin Xiaoyao. He dares. He bullied this old man. This old man will tear him to pieces." Hearing this, the Black Bear Spirit was slightly bewildered. His bare face showed anger. Could it be that he said something in front of Master? Xiao Hua didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He waved his hand and scolded, "Shut up. You are this old man's Black Bear Guard. How can you compare to him? How dare he speak ill of you in front of this old man? This old man was just casually asking. Hearing Xiao Hua say that he was the Black Bear guard, the Black Bear's spirit immediately beamed with joy and said, "That's right. This lowly one is Master's Black Bear guard. What is Qin Xiao Yao? Umph. Even if you're this old man's Black Bear guard, you can't be arrogant and despotic. If this old man finds out anything..." Xiao Hua sneered. I don't dare. This lowly one definitely doesn't dare." The Black Bear spirit didn't even dare to get up. He just lay on the ground and shouted, "Master's methods are heaven-defying, and he is deeply indebted to this lowly one. How can this lowly one lose face for Master? This lowly one now has the golden eagle and white lion and is really protecting Black Wind Ridge from Master. I'm afraid that just relying on those boy of yours won't be enough." Xiao Hua didn't wait for him to finish speaking and waved his hand. "This old man is preparing to set up a large array in Black Wind Ridge. You all have to assist Qin Xiao Yao and the others to defend against the enemy. This old man has already given the key to the array formation to Qin Xiao Yao. You don't understand these things, just listen to him." "All right, this lowly one will listen to Master's orders." The Black Bear's spirit drooped his head, looking very unwilling. After beating the Black Bear spirit, Xiao Hua asked lightly again, "What urgent matter do you have that you need this old man to decide for you?" "That's right." At this moment, the Black Bear spirit seemed to have suddenly woken up. He hurriedly shouted, "Master, you have to decide for this lowly one." As he spoke, he made a lunging motion, but the Black Bear's spirit didn't get up. This touching lunging motion couldn't be completed. "Get up. If there's anything, just say it." Xiao Hua smiled and waved his sleeves, helping the Black Bear's spirit up. The moment the Black Bear's spirit got up, his spittle flew everywhere. He explained everything clearly. How is he still a stupid bear? He was even more eloquent than a fox. Chapter 35-37. Oh, so that's how it is. Xiao Hua nodded slightly. This old man was fighting against the Copper Pillar State, and then went into seclusion to cultivate. So I put this matter to the back of my mind. I thought they would stop, but I didn't expect them to go overboard and bully our family's boy. That's good. Let's go call Qin Xiaoyao, Xiao Jian, and Chongling. This old man will vent your anger for you." "Yes, old master. Many thanks, old master." The Black Bear's spirit crawled up from the ground and hurriedly ran out. But just as he ran to the cave abode's entrance, he stopped and turned back in confusion. "Old master, we're not going to gang up. Why did you bring so many people? It's enough for Master to go alone. Just call when I tell you to call. Why so long-winded?" Xiao Hua snorted. The Black Bear's spirit didn't dare to ask any more questions and hurriedly left. Xiao Hua stood up from the jade chair and slowly walked out of the cave. He muttered to himself, "This Black Cloud Ridge now belongs to the Xiao family. How can they allow others to snore beside their beds? This Jiasa country has miscalculated." When Xiao Hua left the cave, it was noon. The sun was shining brightly, shining in front of the cave, shining on the entire Black Wind Ridge. In this sunlight, one could see the flowers and plants on the mountain, the gurgling streams, and the faint fragrance of the earth in his nose. Where was the barren Black Wind Ridge from that day? Good. Xiao Hua narrowed his eyes and released his divine sense, scanning the entire Black Cloud Ridge. He was quite satisfied as he thought to himself. Lung Qingge had originally set up a great formation in the Black Cloud Ridge to kill this Xiao. But due to a freak combination of factors, she actually transformed the entire Black Cloud Ridge, giving birth to earth-shattering changes. This Xiao, on the other hand, has benefited greatly and saved a lot of effort. However, it will be difficult to guard this place with so many Confucian cultivators. I'm afraid this Zhao's plan of setting up the formation in the Black Wind Ridge will have to be changed. If I'm going to do it, I'll make it bigger and bring the entire Black Cloud Ridge into my Fortune Gates territory. Thinking of this, Xiao Hua released his divine sense again, carefully looking over the entire Black Cloud Ridge, thinking about how to set up the formation. Master, Lu Yi and Wang Bianfei were standing outside the Immortal's cave. When they saw Xiao Hua come out, they immediately bowed. However, when they saw that Xiao Hua didn't pay attention to them and was instead looking at the distant sky and days, they didn't dare to say anything and stood to the side. A long time later, Xiao Jian, the Chongling princess, Qin Xiaoyao, and the others came over with the black bear spirit. Before they came close, Lu Yi immediately walked over and motioned for them to not speak and wait for Xiao Hua's orders. After the time it took to finish a meal, Xiao Hua smiled and said, "You're all here, disciple, and the others greet master." Everyone didn't dare to be negligent and hurriedly stepped forward to salute. "Get up." Xiao Hua smiled and said, "Today, I called you all here to help Black Bear vent his anger." Vent? Xiao Jian and the others were stunned, as they didn't really understand what Xiao Hua meant. However, Xiao Hua didn't explain. He stretched out his hand and said to Qin Xiaoyao, "Xiaoyao, give me the jade eye formation. This old man wants to change it." "Yes, master." Qin Xiaoyao hurriedly took out the jade eye formation. Xiao Hua took it and then handed it back to Qin Xiaoyao a moment later. He said, "In the future, train according to this formation. Black Bear, Golden Eagle, and White Lion will listen to your orders." "Yes, master." Qin Xiaoyao took it. As he spoke, he scanned with his consciousness and was shocked. He asked again, "Master, isn't this too big? The entire Black Cloud Ridge." "Yes, the entire Black Cloud Ridge. In the future, this will be our territory. Whoever dares to say no will first knock out their front teeth." Xiao Hua smiled and nodded. "Good." The Black Bear's spirit shouted first. "Beat them until they're looking for their teeth on the ground." "This." Xiao Jian looked at the Chongling princess. Shock and joy flashed through their eyes. Black Cloud Ridge was not like Black Wind Ridge. That was the border between the three countries. If it was protected by a formation, then how inconceivable would that be? The two didn't dare to imagine. "Black Bear, lead the way," Xiao Hua ordered. The Black Bear's spirit happily moved the Yao Cloud and flew to the back of Black Wind Ridge. Seeing Xiao Hua and the Black Bear's spirit leave, Xiao Jian seemed to think of something. He glanced again at the Chongling princess. The Chongling princess frowned slightly and looked into the distance and thought, "Chongling, master has left. We should hurry." Yuanya urged from the back of the green leopard, who almost never left the Chongling princess' side. "All right," the Chongling princess hurriedly responded. Red clouds appeared under her feet and carried her to catch up. The Black Bear's spirit flew into the depths of the Black Cloud Ridge for the time it took to brew a cup of tea before arriving at a mountain peak that had already collapsed. Before the group landed, they saw a golden eagle fly up from the bottom of the mountain. "Master!" The golden eagle flapped its wings in the air and called meekly. "This one greets master." "And are they still here?" Xiao Hua asked coolly. "Yes, they came 2 months ago. They were very powerful. I and others couldn't stop them. Several children under the second brother were also injured by them." The golden eagle replied, "If it weren't for the old master's face, I'm afraid our lives would not be guaranteed." "Umph, they are very arrogant." Xiao Hua snorted coldly. The Black Bear's spirit immediately added fuel to the fire. "Yes, this one visited 3 times and told them clearly that this Black Cloud Ridge is master's territory and for them to leave immediately. They refused to see me twice and attacked this one the 3rd time. This one almost could not see master. Why didn't you tell Qin Xiaoyao and Xiao Jian?" Xiao Hua rolled his eyes and scolded. The Black Bear's spirit immediately stopped talking. He placed his 2 paws in front of him and said rather embarrassedly, "Old master, please don't blame me. I saw that Qin Xiaoyao and Xiao Jian were very busy, and I couldn't help much. If I couldn't even help old master look after the mountain gate, I would be too embarrassed." "Master," the golden eagle at the side hurriedly shouted, "it is not that big brother did not tell them, but they are not much stronger than this one. If this one and his brothers could not handle it, they may not be able to." "Umph, all of you are in the right," Xiao Hua scolded. "Right now, my Black Cloud Ridge is everyone's Black Cloud Ridge. If you encounter something you cannot handle in the future, it is better for everyone to work together. Yes, this one understands, the black bear's spirit hurriedly answered. Xiao Jian, Chongling, and the others hurriedly responded. Xiao Hua looked at the mountain peak that was completely different from when Little Yellow, Little Black, and Little Silver came. He pointed with his hand and said, Chongling, your message seal should have flown here that day. Yes, Chongling knows. This should be a backup plan that royal father left behind. The Chongling princess bit her lips and said softly, Do you know what is below? Xiao Hua said with a smile. The Chongling princess shook her head. Royal father did not mention it. Chongling does not know. This is an energy stone mine, Xiao Hua said with a smile. It seems that Jiang country, Bronze Pillar country, and Jiasa country have all discovered it. Jiang country was destroyed, and the people of Jiang country most likely submitted to Bronze Pillar country. The Bronze Pillar country state preceptor surrounded my Black Cloud Ridge and set up defensive formations. Even if the people of the two countries did not completely leave, maybe they only left some people to guard the mine. Now that the Bronze Pillar country's state preceptor is dead, Jiasa country wants to take advantage. They are dreaming. An energy stone mine? Xiao Jian's eyes turned green when he heard this. He had once been a king and naturally only thought of the importance of this energy stone mine. But the black bear's spirit and the golden eagle were puzzled. Yuanya, Xiao Hua called. Yes, master. Yuanya stilled. He had not expected Xiao Hua to suddenly call him. He hurriedly urged the green leopard to fly to the front. Xiao Hua pointed with his finger and said, You follow the black bear over and smash their cave entrance. Let this old man see if your strength has improved these days. Yes, master. Yuanya did not say much. He urged the green leopard to fly down. Although the black bear spirit knew that Yuanya could not even defeat him, he did not dare to grumble and followed. Where's Baishir? Xiao Hua asked again. Master, second brother, is guarding the other end of the Black Cloud Ridge. This little one is guarding this place. Big brother is on the other end. The golden eagle replied respectfully. Not bad, that's right. Xiao Hua praised. In the future, you all will still be the three demons of the Black Cloud Ridge. This old man should be the one behind you all. That is this little one's honor. The golden eagle was careful. Xiao Hua's method of killing Lung Qinga was truly admirable. He did not dare to have any other thoughts. Let's go and take a look. Xiao Hua was very relaxed as he led everyone down from the sky. They saw that this was a place with messy mountain rocks. In front of a pile of rocks near the foot of the mountain, there was an empty space that was a few feet large. At the edge of the empty space, there was a large amount of fresh soil and rocks. Obviously, because the mountain peak collapsed, it blocked the passage to the underground Yuan stone mine. The soldiers of the Jia Sa country came to clear it again. At the foot of the mountain, a rather new stone door blocked the entrance of the cave. The entrance looked to be only 20 feet wide. Moreover, there was still a small half of it underground. Master, this used to be the depths of the Black Cloud Ridge. Black clouds covered this place all year round. This little one and the others have been here before. However, it seemed a little fierce, so we did not come here often. This cave entrance is very hidden. This little one has never seen it before. If Master did not come here, I am afraid that this little one would have been sold and helped count the copper coins. The golden eagle said softly. At this time, Yuanya had already landed in front of the cave. The green leopard lay beside him, and the black bear's spirit arrogantly followed behind Yuanya. Yuanya held a black demonic weapon in his hand and walked to the front of the cave. Without hesitation, he swung his arms and shouted, Open, boom! As the demonic weapon in Yuanya's hand smashed into the mountain gate, a loud sound rang out. Not only did the entire mountain gate explode into pieces and fly in all directions, even the entire cliff shook a few times. Even the black bear spirit at the side was shocked. He could not help but look at Yuanya and cry out, Damn it, yeah, you're good. I'm afraid your strength has already surpassed mine. You can be considered as a younger generation that will surpass us in time. Chapter 35-38. Hearing the black bear spirit's praise, Yuanya grinned and turned to look at Xiao Hua in the distance. And of course it could be Chongling. Then he stood to the side. Who is so daring? After a while, 3 to 5 armored soldiers ran out, roaring as they ran. However, when they saw the ferocious black bear spirit and Yuanya, who was standing coldly at the side, they shrunk their necks and hurriedly ran back. Not long after, a group of bald monks wearing simple monk robes rushed out with weapons in their hands. Oh, Xiaohua stilled. But other than their bald heads and robes, these monks did not look like monks. Each of them had a ferocious look on their faces, and their eyes were filled with ferocity. Furthermore, the muscles of the monks were firm, and a few of them were even bare-chested, looking very valiant. Are these monks soldiers? Suddenly, Xiao Hua came to a realization and turned to ask Xiao Jian. Xiao Jian hurriedly answered, Master, it is so. Jasa country was founded by Buddhism, and their Buddhist power is naturally soldier monks. These soldier monks are similar to Tao soldiers. They do not read Buddhist scriptures, only cultivate Buddhist abilities, and they do not abstain from meat. Ah, how? Is this the righteousness of Buddhism? Xiao Hua sighed. For power, for profit, they threw away their roots. At this moment, he understood that these soldier monks were also on the path of protectors. However, their cultivation couldn't be compared to the Buddhist protectors. You that brat. At the front, a burly soldier monk holding a cudgel pointed and said, Why did you break the stone door of my cave residence? Do you know that this is Jasa country's territory in Black Cloud Ridge? You are provoking Jasa country. Do you want to fight Jasa country? Roar. Why would the black bear spirit pay attention to them? He opened his mouth, and a gust of wind blew out, causing the dozen people to sway. Then he sneered. Who do you think you are? Tell your master to come out, or grandfather will eat you all. You. How dare you? The soldier monk finally managed to stand still. He tried to put on a brave front and shouted. Woo! Just as the soldier monk opened his mouth, Yuanya immediately brandished his demonic axe and leaped down from the sky, shouting, Monk Yuna, eat this. The soldier monk had just steadied himself when he heard the sound of the wind. He did not expect Yuanya to attack so quickly. He hurriedly raised his staff to meet the attack. Kacha! With a loud sound, the Chime club was immediately split into 2 halves by Yuanya. The soldier monk staggered back a few steps and sat on the ground with a plop, with blood flowing out of his hands. You. The other monk soldiers were shocked and quickly retreated. They had received an urgent report from the soldiers and knew that the black bear spirit had been defeated by their general. That was why they wanted to come out and show their faces. Who knew that the black bear spirit would be so fierce today? How dare you? With an angry roar, a ray of Buddhist light appeared in the cave. A wooden fish the size of a fist flew out, carrying a huge force and producing a soul-stirring rhythm. It smashed towards Yuanya's head. Seeing this, Yuanya raised his demonic axe to meet it. However, when the rhythm entered his ears, his eyes flashed with a kind of daze. His hands and feet unconsciously slowed down. He saw that the wooden fish was about to hit his head, and he was about to die. How dare you? Qin Xiaoyao also roared, but it was no less imposing than the one in the cave. He opened his mouth, and a ray of fire appeared. Within the fire, a 3-inch-long flying sword streaked across the sky like a meteor. With a boom, it pierced the wooden fish. However, the Buddhist light on the wooden fish shone brightly. The Buddhist light was like rain, instantly extinguishing the flames on the flying sword. Moreover, the wooden fish suddenly expanded and immediately shook the flying sword back a few feet. It was obvious that the flying sword was no match for the wooden fish. However, it was at this moment that a pitch-black brilliance flashed past. With a piu, Yuanya broke free from the rhythm. The demonic axe that was originally raised immediately smashed onto the wooden fish. Since ancient times, Buddha had been able to subdue demons, but demons were also the mortal enemies of Buddha. Under the demonic axe, the Buddhist wooden fish let out a crisp sound. The Buddha's light suddenly disappeared, and it fell straight down. Damn it! A rough voice sounded. However, the person still did not appear. It was obvious that he was still rushing towards the cave from underground. However, another ray of Buddhist light flashed, and a demon-subduing pestle flew out of thin air and smashed towards the flying sword. Oh no! Qin Xiaoyao saw the demon-subduing pestle fly out. The wind whistling was several times stronger than the wooden fish. He could not help but feel that things were not good and wanted to retrieve the flying sword. At this moment, Xiao Jian, who was next to him, hurriedly said, "Fellow Taoist Qin, don't worry. I will help you." As he spoke, Xiao Jian waved his hand. A ray of watery light flew out of his hand and flew towards the demon, subduing pestle. The light screen showed the shape of a ring. When Qin Xiaoyao saw it, he was overjoyed and hurriedly cooperated with Xiao Jian to activate the fire sword. Rumble! With a loud sound, the two magic artifacts displayed their power and knocked down the demon, subduing pestle. Why are these two magic artifacts so powerful? A slightly gloomy voice resounded, following which a round plate flew out from the cave along with a tall monk. That plate flickered with a misty green brilliance and actually covered the flashing blue ring and the flashing flame sword in an instant. Magic treasure. When Qin Xiaoyao and Xiao Jian saw the power of the plate, they were immediately shocked. They hurriedly activated their magic power and tried to retrieve the fire sword and ring. Unfortunately, no matter how they activated their magic power, the fire sword and ring could not escape from the plate's control. With this little ability, you still dare to come to my cave? The tall monk landed on the ground. He waved his hand, and the demon's subduing pestle and wooden fish landed in his hands. He coldly looked at Qin Xiaoyao and Xiao Jian, who were sweating profusely. The black bear's spirit sneered at the side. "Bald donkey, my master is here. Why aren't you kowtowing?" "Master?" The monk was stunned and hurriedly looked over. When he saw Xiao Hua, who was as calm as water in front of everyone, he scanned with his Buddhist awareness. Shock appeared on his face. He hurriedly stepped forward and bowed. Jiasa country's Lao Zhen greets Taoist Xiao. However, Xiao Hua did not look at Lao Zhen at all. Instead, his gaze landed on the plate and said indifferently, "Are you not going to come out?" Just as Xiao Hua's voice landed, the plate immediately flashed with light and was about to fly back. "Oomph!" Xiao Hua sneered and waved his hand. The seal of overturning the sea rushed out of space and smashed towards the plate with a rumbling sound. Bang! With a loud sound, the plate was struck by the seal of overturning the sea and immediately turned into pieces that fell to the ground. A low scream came from within the cave. Following that, a slightly shorter cultivator jumped out from the cave. His face was sallow, and there was a trace of blood at the corner of his mouth. The moment that person came out of the cave, he cried out in grief and indignation, "Taoist Master Xiao is so mighty. Don't you think that bullying the weak is a disgrace to the Taoist Master? Haha, you junior, who didn't even come over to greet me when you saw me. You actually hid in the cave and bullied my 2 Foundation Establishment disciples. Are you not bullying the weak? It's good that you came out now. In a while, I will take your life." Xiao Hua laughed and said. The cultivator clenched his teeth, not daring to say anything. "What's your name?" Xiao Hua asked again. "I am Jiang Jia." The cultivator did not dare to remain silent and reluctantly replied. "Oomph!" Xiao Hua sneered. "Are you from the Jiang country?" "Yes, this junior is." Jiang Jia did not deny it and admitted. The Jiang country was destroyed. This junior had no place to stand and could only rely on the Jiasa country. "Jiang Jia," the Chongling princess could not endure and said angrily, "My royal father treated you well. You actually abandoned my Jiang country. Are you worthy of my royal father?" Jiang Jia smiled faintly and said, "Princess of Chongling, everything you said is smoke. Why mention it again? If I did not rely on the Jiasa country, how could I live in this world? How could I see the princess? Facing a person who once died, does the princess not feel that you are asking too much?" The Chongling princess trembled in anger but could not continue to criticize. After all, Jiang Jia's words were not without reason. Forget it. Xiao Hua waved his hand and looked at Shen Ao and Jiang Jia, whose subordinate injured the boy of my Black Wind Ridge. Leave behind an arm, and you can get out of here. Daoist Xiao. Shen Ao's expression changed, and he said urgently, "It was my disciple who had a conflict with the Black Wind King's boy. But my disciple also died. Why do you want my arm?" Xiao Hua shrugged and said with a smile, "No other reason. Because this Black Wind Ridge belongs to this Xiao. You injured this Xiao's people here, so you have to pay the price. Daoist Xiao, when did this Black Wind Ridge belong to you?" Jiang Jia gritted his teeth and said, "The abode in this cave already belonged to the Jiasa country before the Black Wind King and the others came. Daoist does not have the right to make us leave. Also, Daoist wants to use your cultivation to drive us away. Do not blame the Jiasa country for meeting Jiang country at war." Ha, meeting at war? Are you threatening this old man?" Xiao Hua laughed loudly. "This Black Cloud Ridge is not the border of the Jiasa country. Why do you have to say that this is the Jiasa country's? Since this old man says the Black Cloud Ridge is this old man's, then it is this old man's. Even the Bronze Pillar country had left with their tails between their legs. Was the Jiasa country still dreaming of taking advantage of them? If your Jiasa country has the ability, why did you slip away in advance when the Bronze Pillar country set up the Great Formation? And when this old man broke the formation, you all secretly came back. No matter what, this place belongs to my Jiasa country." Lu Shun insisted, "If Daoist Xiao is not afraid of my Jiasa country's counterattack, you can kill us all. Moreover, Daoist Master, I'm afraid you still don't know the importance of this elemental stone mine. If you let me, do you think this old man is afraid?" Unfortunately, before Lu Shun could finish speaking, Xiao Hua sneered, "If you don't call me Daoist Master Xiao, this old man will not make a move. You all took my Black Cloud Ridge's elemental stone mine and injured my Black Cloud Ridge's disciples. How can this old man forgive you?" With that, Xiao Hua waved his hand, and a golden light flashed. Lu Shun almost didn't see it clearly before he felt a pain in his left arm. His entire arm that was holding the demon subduing pestle fell from his body. Chapter 35-39. After destroying Shun's prestige, Xiao Hua looked at Jiang Jia from the corner of his eyes. Jiang Jia turned pale with fright and unconsciously took a few steps back. But at the same time, he heard Xiao Hua say in a clear voice, "Jiang Jia, you betrayed your master for glory, which is disloyalty, and you didn't save him when he was in danger. Such a disloyal and ungrateful person actually dared to stay in front of the mine. Do you really not know that there is retribution in this bright universe?" The golden light that had just cut off Jiang Jia's right arm also flashed. Jiang Jia had no way to dodge, and his left arm was also cut off. When Xiao Hua waved his hand, the tongue Jiao shears, shining with golden light, fell into his hand. Jiang Jia's scream was even louder than Liao Sheng's. He was injured one after another. His face was extremely pale. He hurriedly covered his wound with his hand to stop the blood from gushing out. "I'll give you an hour to pack up and leave Black Cloud Ridge quickly." Xiao Hua narrowed his eyes and ordered, "Before you leave all your Qinquan bags in the mine. You can't take even half a primordial stone. Otherwise, don't blame this old man for being ruthless." Yes. Liao Sheng and Jiang Jia gritted their teeth and answered. They reached out to pick up the severed arm on the ground and hurriedly returned to the cave. The black bear spirit was also a little dumbfounded. He didn't expect Xiao Hua to be so protective. He cried and complained in front of Xiao Hua just to drive these people away. Who knew that Xiao Hua would cut off their arms without saying a word? At this moment, seeing Jiang Jia and Liao Sheng return to the cave with a group of frightened soldier monks, he immediately called the Golden Eagle. The two demons walked in front of Xiao Hua and said respectfully, "Thank you, Master." Get up," Xiao Hua said indifferently. "You are this old man's subordinates. This old man will definitely not let you suffer. But you can't use this old man's reputation to bully others. Yes, master. The black bear spirit smiled and said, this little one is very timid. How can I have the chance to bully others? If people don't offend me, I won't offend them. If people offend me, even if they're thousands of miles away, I will kill them. Xiao Hua said in a clear voice. Hearing this, everyone's spirits were lifted. It was unknown whether Jiang Jihe and Lu Shun were afraid that Xiao Hua would really be ruthless, or the two of them were just probing Jiasa country. In just the time it took to eat a meal, the two of them led the monks' soldiers and hundreds of mine soldiers out of the cave in a single file. Taoist Master Xiao. Jiang Jihe didn't dare to say more. He walked to the front and said with a smile, we didn't take any of the primordial stones in the primordial stone mine. However, this small Chinquan bag belongs to us. I hope that Taoist master can be magnanimous. This old man has already said that the Chinquan bag and other items will all be left here. Xiao Hua indifferently said, as for your Buddhist artifacts, this old man doesn't want them. Perfected one. Liao Shan bit his lip and suppressed his anger. He said in a low voice, don't go too far. What? What did you say? Xiao Hua frowned. This old man is old, so I can't hear you clearly. I'll have to trouble you to say it again. Perfected one. How could Liao Shan dare to say anything more? Although his face was livid, he still pleaded, we're all ordinary monk soldiers and monks. The things we have on us are all for our future cultivation. They're also our personal belongings. Even if perfected one wants to fall out with Jiasa country, you don't have to make things difficult for us soldiers and generals, right? So what if I make things difficult for you? Xiao Hua said coldly. You don't take this old man seriously. Why should this old man take you seriously? However, Xiao Hua's tone changed as he said, this old man won't force you into a dead end. How about this? Take away your own things. Leave whatever you need for mining in the small Chinquan bag. Liao Shun still wanted to say something, but Xiao Hua waved his hand. This old man has already done his best. Hurry up and leave. Don't make this old man change his mind again. All right. Liao Shun thought for a moment, and then turned to look at the speechless Jiang Jihe. He could only submit. He gave the order to take their most important things and leave all the things they needed for mining in the small Chinquan bags. They left with their tails between their legs. After Liao Shun and the others left, the hundreds of small Chinquan bags in front of them looked spectacular. The black bear spirit jumped up and shouted, Rich, rich! Many thanks, old master, for helping this junior vent my anger. The Chongling princess bowed. When she saw Jiang Jihe just now, she had been furious. She had almost leapt at him and bit off his flesh. And no need to be so polite. Xiao Hua helped the Chongling princess up and said, take your soldiers and go to the underground energy stone mines. I don't know how many of the energy stones that Jiasa country and Copper Pillar country mined are left here. I'll give the ones that have been mined to you. The ones that have not been mined, this old man has use for them. Many thanks, old master, for your generous gift. The Chongling princess knew that it was not enough to rely on slogans and loyalty to revive her country. Gold and silver were even more necessary. The energy stone mines were what she needed the most right now. However, she was also somewhat disappointed in her heart. After all, Xiao Hua did not bestow all of the origin stones to her. Black Bear, Golden Eagle. Xiao Hua called out to the black bear spirit who was looking through the small Chinquan pouches one by one and instructed, find a suitable spirit and distribute these small Chinquan pouches. Let them start mining the cloud stones. Discuss with Xiao Jian how to distribute them. Yes, old master. Xiao Jian hurriedly agreed. The black bear spirit said with a bitter expression, old master, this is tiring work. Of course it is tiring, but there is a reward. Xiao Hua said coolly. Also, if you do not want to do it, this old man will have Qin Xiao Yao find someone. Do not, old master. This one will discuss with old second. The black bear spirit hurriedly waved his hand, unwilling to put down the small Chinquan bags in his hand. Do your own things. Xiao Yao, come with this old man. Xiao Hua ordered and flew into the cave first. Qin Xiaoyao did not dare to delay and also followed him into the cave. The cave didn't look big from the outside. It was only about 2 zhang, but it was extremely spacious inside. Not only was the ground abnormally flat, but there were also stones similar to Minghua stones on the walls, which illuminated the entire cave. Xiaohua and Qin Xiaoyao flew in one after another. After flying along the passage for a while, they saw several forks. Xiaohua paused for a moment, swept out with his divine sense, and found a direction to fly in. Not long after, they saw a cave that was dozens of feet wide. Inside this cave, there were some neatly arranged source stones. These source stones were not a lot, accounting for about 30% of the cave. It was unknown whether they were newly mined or left behind by the Jiasa country. Qin Xiaoyao had been following behind Xiaohua, and when he saw the source stones, his eyes lit up. He said in a low voice, "Old Master." This disciple boldly asks Old Master to bestow these source stones to this disciple. My Fortune Gate Outer Sect has several hundred disciples, and there are not many source stones for cultivation. This source stone mine is the solution to our current predicament. Haha, you don't need to think about this. This old man has already bestowed it to Chongling. This old man brought you here to discuss with you how big this source stone mine is and what kind of regulations this old man should make. After all, source stones are gold in the eyes of the Jiasa country and the Copper Pillar country, but in the eyes of our Dao sect cultivators, it is different. Xiaohua said with a smile, and this old man knows nothing about these things. I'm afraid of turning a good thing into a bad thing and polluting these treasures. Qin Xiaoyao said with a smile, this disciple understands Old Master's meaning. Then this disciple will urge Black Bear and Xiao Jian. When they can source the source stones, we will divide them. As for how to distribute the source stones, when this disciple was in Jiang country, the imperial preceptor already had a mature custom. Old Master does not need to worry. This disciple will copy it for Old Master to look over. I'll have to trouble you with this. Xiaohua nodded. As the head of my Fortune Gate Outer Sect disciples, you have a lot of work to do. Don't worry, you'll get a lot in the future. Yes, this disciple knows. Qin Xiaoyao nodded. Old Master only needs to cultivate. The stronger you are, the better. All the affairs in the sect will be taken care of by this disciple and the others. Good. In that case, you don't need to follow this old man anymore. Turn back now and bring Jiang Ming, Qin Xingyi, Jiang Haodong, and the others over. Together with Xiao Jian, they will control this source stone mine. Hearing this, Xiaohua said with a smile, this old man will go down first and set up an impregnable formation for you. Let those shitty Jiasa country and the Copper Pillar country not even have the chance to open their mouths. This disciple obeys Old Master's orders. Qin Xiaoyao was overjoyed. He bowed and flew back. After Qin Xiaoyao flew away, Xiaohua scanned with his divine sense and knew that there was no one in the source stone mine. He couldn't help but laugh. Ha ha, this old man is rich. Ha ha. Then, he no longer had the bearing of a master. With a wave of his hand, he took the 2 source stones in his hand. His eyes lit up, and he turned into a greedy wind and flew down the tunnel. The source stone mine in the Black Cloud Ridge had obviously been operated for many years. The internal and external tunnels were everywhere, like a spider web. At the end of each tunnel, there would be source stones hidden between the mountain rocks. Xiaohua flew around randomly a few times, and his heart became more and more excited. This source stone mine was several times bigger than the source stone mine in the Spring Gold Mountain in the Dawn Rain continent. Moreover, from the layout, it was divided into 3 parts. Each part was connected by an extremely long and narrow tunnel. It could be imagined that this place must have been filled with soldiers in the past. Damn it, of course I'm rich. After a while, the hot-blooded Xiaohua became somewhat depressed. But this is also a hot potato. The Copper Pillar country and the Jiasa country will definitely spread the news of this source stone mine to the hidden immortal continent. The other countries will also send experts to investigate. It seems like Jiang Jihe and the others are just pawns to test this Xiao. If this old man gives way to them, They will cover up this matter and even fight with this old man against the enemy. However, this is their wishful thinking. The Copper Pillar country has already retreated from this place, and there will not be any secrets left here. Also, the Copper Pillar country probably had the intention of covering up the news of this place when they chased after the Chongling princess. They definitely will not let this information go. Chapter 3540. This way, I only have two paths left. Xiao Hua stood in front of a primordial stone vein and looked at the sparkling and translucent primordial stones in front of him. He pondered while holding his chin. The first path is to take advantage of the fact that the various countries in the hidden immortal continent haven't received the news and completely mine this primordial stone vein. However, the three countries have already mined this primordial stone vein for a long time and still haven't been able to mine it completely. Admittedly, they're suppressing their speed, afraid that the primordial stones will become worthless if there are too many of them. However, this also shows that the amount of primordial stones in this vein is extremely large. With Black Wind Ridge's strength, they definitely won't be able to mine it all in a short time. The second path is to defend Black Cloud Ridge and use Black Cloud Ridge's strength to resist the various countries. However, Qin Xiaoyao, the Black Bear Spirit, and the others aren't strong enough. It seems that I still have to rescue that nascent soul cultivator called Li Xiang and have him lend me a hand here. Moreover, on this basis, the capital star formation that I thought of before will have to be expanded to protect this primordial stone vein. Right, how big is this primordial stone vein? My divine sense is already abnormally strong, but won't be enough to see through a complete primordial stone vein. Xiao Hua frowned and released Little Yellow, Little Black, and Little Silver. Daddy, Little Black wagged his tail and swayed in front of Xiao Hua's head, looking like he had grown up a little. Little Silver was still sniffing up and down with his nose, looking very happy as he followed Little Yellow. Little Yellow, on the other hand, was a lot more steady. After Little Black finished shouting, he called out to his mother and then stood to the side without making a sound. Go and help Father see how big this place is. Xiao Hua pointed at the primordial stones and ordered, Where is the end of this primordial stone? Yes, Father. Little Black nodded and turned around to fly. Little Yellow was a little lazy, like a grown-up child starting to rebel. After Little Black barked, Little Silver flew out from Little Yellow's tail and rushed to the front. After the three little ones flew away, Xiao Hua looked around and shook his head. The grade of the primordial stones here is a little low. Let's go deeper and take a look. As he spoke, Xiao Hua formed a seal with his hand. His entire body flickered with brilliance, and he directly entered the layer of soil beneath his feet. Xiao Hua went straight underground for the time it took to drink a cup of tea. Seeing that the source stones were becoming sparse and the quality was getting better, he finally revealed himself. He raised his hand and patted the top of his head, using his yuanying hand. Wherever the big hand passed, a large amount of source stones was grabbed by the big hand and pulled out from the ground. But when he sent his mind into the space, trouble appeared. Because the source stones grabbed by the big hand were too heavy, Xiao Hua's mind couldn't send them all into the space at once. He had no choice but to use his yuanying hand to crush the source stones and put them into the space one by one. After being busy for a while, Xiao Hua saw that the small or vein had already disappeared, only revealing an empty cave. This is still a little slow. Xiao Hua rolled his eyes and waved his hand, taking out his sword pouch. Xiao Hua had collected hundreds of thousands of elemental devouring insects in a mysterious water palace. If he let the spirit-swallowing insects drive them to mine the source stones at the same time as him, wouldn't be twice the result with half the effort? However, when Xiao Hua released the spirit-swallowing insects and opened the sword pouch, he was stunned again. The sword pouch was empty. Not even a single elemental devouring insect could be seen. The spirit-swallowing insects flew into the sword pouch, but they didn't find anything and flew out again. Damn it, what's going on? Xiao Hua scratched his head. He had clearly put them into the sword pouch that day. After putting away the spirit-swallowing insects, Xiao Hua frowned and thought for a moment. He understood something. The elemental devouring insects in the mysterious water palace had some abnormalities. After they were killed, their corpses disappeared. Moreover, the elemental devouring insects appeared from the stone walls of the mysterious water palace. If there was no accident, the elemental devouring insects should be produced by the formation of the mysterious water palace. As long as the formation was not removed, the elemental devouring insects would be endless. If he put away these elemental devouring insects, they would still exist in the mysterious water palace. However, once they left the mysterious water palace, millions of elemental devouring insects would immediately turn into pure water essence of heaven and earth and disappear. Forget it. It's like drawing water with a bamboo basket. Xiao Hua sighed and put away the sword pouch. I thought that with these elemental devouring insects, it would be an extremely terrifying method. However, my mind is a little weak. I didn't feel anything before, but now it's becoming more and more incompatible with my divine thoughts. If I could put something bigger into the space in the future. Oh, that's not right. Thinking of this, Xiao Hua was bewildered again. How heavy is this Zhao's wishful staff? How can the Xiao easily put it into the space? Xiao Hua had already considered the matter of using his mind to store things when he was in the qi refining stage, but he didn't have any clues, so he put it aside. Today, seeing that so many primordial stones couldn't be stored into the space at once, Xiao Hua naturally had to think about it again. The wishful staff was refined by this Xiao. It could be considered a magic tool. Maybe it's different from these primordial stones? And although these primordial stones have no weight, they have a size. Maybe my mind can't completely control them? Xiao Hua once again made a hand seal to escape to the side while thinking, but this Zhao's mind has been tempered by the sun concealing art. It's not just a little bit stronger than before. If I can fuse my mind and divine thoughts together, wouldn't it be just right? Right? Didn't Doshan Jun give this Xiao a method to control divine thoughts? Xiao Hua thought of this matter again. He is a senior of the Tao sect. Maybe the secret technique inside has some use. Thinking of this, Xiao Hua took out the ink cloud pupil and put it on his forehead. Looking at it, Xiao Hua immediately stopped between the layers of soil. He was a little dumbfounded. Grandma, is this really a secret technique to control divine thoughts? Yes, Xiao Hua couldn't help but be surprised. The ink cloud pupil recorded more things than Jade's slips and Jade eyes. The ink cloud pupil in Xiao Hua's hand was densely recorded. Not only were there various methods to control divine thoughts, but there were also various secret techniques to strengthen divine thoughts. The so-called Yuaning's hand was just the simplest among them. As for the rest, Xiao Hua couldn't read it all at once. I'm rich. Xiao Hua took a deep breath and was about to enter the space to give the ink cloud pupil to the green-robed Xiao Hua. But just as his mind moved, he remembered that the green-robed Xiao Hua was controlling the Yuaning in his lower dantian to receive the baptism of the 5-Qi thunder. How could he have time to comprehend the secret technique? Xiao Hua had no choice but to check it himself. After looking at the cultivation method for a cup of tea, he found the content he was interested in behind the ink cloud pupil. However, the content was too obscure. Even with Xiao Hua's current cultivation of Yuanying, he still couldn't understand it. Forget it. Xiao Hua's mind entered his middle dantian, but he saw that the Confucian cultivator Xiao Hua was pinching a sword technique with his hand, and the noble qi from the 5 brocade cloud picture above his head was pouring in, and the crimson clouds around his body were steaming. This was the key to cultivation. Jade Archive, Xiao Hua opened his mouth, but he didn't say anything. After thinking for a while, Jade Archive, Xiao Hua had to enter his meridians. At this time, he saw that in his meridians, countless golden spiritual qi rushed out from the gold essence, rising marrow like sharp swords. It was refined in his meridians and turned into true qi that flowed into his lower dantian. Jade Archive Xiao Hua stood in his meridians. Where is Dragon Vein Xiao Hua? Jade Archive Xiao Hua said with a smile. I am here. Greetings, fellow Taoist. While speaking, a dragon-shaped Xiao Hua appeared in front of Jade Archive Xiao Hua. Does fellow Taoist know what I want? Jade Archive Xiao Hua asked. I don't know if fellow Taoist can comprehend this ink cloud pupil. Of course. Dragon Vein Xiao Hua's expression was similar to that of the green-robed Xiao Hua. His tone was very emotional, but his face was stiff. Thank you, fellow Taoist. Jade Archive Xiao Hua handed the ink cloud pupil to Dragon Vein Xiao Hua. After Dragon Vein Xiao Hua took it, he swallowed it and asked, fellow Taoist, where is the jade seal from before? Where is it now? That thing is a scourge. It's useless for you and me to take it. I have already given it to someone else. Jade Archive Xiao Hua explained with a smile, then asked, why did fellow Taoists suddenly ask about this? The dragon chi within the imperial jade seal has already been swallowed by this poor Taoist. What's left inside is just a fart that this poor Taoist let out at the last moment. Dragon Vein Xiao Hua's words made Jade Archive Xiao Hua dumbstruck. This poor Taoist naturally has to ask, This. Jade Archive Xiao Hua scratched his head, but that's the 5-dragon jade seal of the Confucian cultivator. Why did you put your stinky fart inside? I stinky fart is also luck. Dragon Vein Xiao Hua said proudly. It's 100 times stronger than the luck inside the jade seal. All right. Jade Archive Xiao Hua said in distress. At this time, only you and I know. Don't let others know. We also know, at this time, the voices of the green-robed Xiao Hua, the Confucian cultivator Xiao Hua, and the other primordial spirits sounded in Jade Archive Xiao Hua's ears. Damn it, you guys aren't I. Jade Archive Xiao Hua escaped from the meridians in a sorry state. He really didn't know that if the Confucian cultivator found out that the dragon chi inside the 5-dragon jade seal had been replaced by him, there would be such a thunderous situation. But Xiao Hua was bewildered again. He touched his chin, and a strange smile appeared on his face. He secretly said, this kind of luck inheritance, is it the Confucian cultivators or my Taoist sex? Xiao Hua didn't have the chance to think about this question anymore, because in a moment, a rare metal attribute, primordial stone lode, appeared in front of Xiao Hua. Xiao Hua clapped his hands, and the yuaning hand was used again. Half a day later, Xiao Hua flew out from the bottom of the lode. This primordial stone lode was really big. It was so big that the greedy Xiao Hua actually felt a kind of dull feeling in his heart. After all, this primordial stone lode was his. As long as he guarded this primordial stone lode, he could come and take it at any time. He was already too lazy to put it into his space. Xiao Hua then called Little Yellow and Little Black over, asked about the situation of the primordial stone lode, and put them into his space again. Xiao Hua didn't pay much attention to Little Yellow's abnormality and only left Little Silver behind. Chapter 35:41. Let's go, Little Silver. Follow this old man to take a look at your vein. Xiao Hua called out. Little Silver also chirped in agreement and obediently flew into Xiao Hua's hand. Its snow-white tail curled around Xiao Hua's right thumb and nestled in Xiao Hua's palm, looking very comfortable. Xiao Hua followed the two little ones' instructions and surveyed the entire source stone vein. He then sat down cross-legged and closed his eyes, thinking hard. Previously, he had only wanted to place the Black Wind Ridge in the Capital Star Formation, but after coming out, he wanted to place the entire Black Wind Ridge in the formation as the Fortune Gates Foundation. However, after seeing the Source Stone vein, Xiao Hua realized that he had to place the Source Stone vein inside the Capital Star Formation. On one hand, the Source Stone vein inside the Capital Star Formation could provide an endless supply of Source Stones for the Fortune Gate or Jiang country. On the other hand, Xiao Hua's Capital Star Formation relied on a Jade Talisman. Although the Jade Talisman could absorb origin energy from the outside world to replenish it, if the replenishment speed could not keep up with the speed of destruction, the formation could be easily broken. The 5 brocade clouds painting was a classic example. On the other hand, the capital star formation was built on top of a source stone vein, so there was no need to worry about the lack of origin energy to replenish it. The capital star formation would also be more stable. This was a win-win situation. However, Xiaohua had never built the capital star array on top of a primordial stone mine before. This was yet another test for him in terms of array formations. However, Xiaohua had helped the Huang family repair the Heavenly Gate Mountains Grand Formation, so he had some experience. Xiaohua pondered over the method to arrange the capital star formation while recalling the layout of the Heavenly Gate Mountains Grand Formation. He even secretly wondered if Huang Mengxiang was safe. 10 days later, the frowning Xiaohua gradually calmed down. Another 5 days passed, and Xiaohua stood up, full of confidence. Soon after, Xiaohua released his divine sense and probed for a bit before burrowing into the ground and heading toward a certain direction. After half a cup of tea's worth of time, he reappeared between the layers of soil. With a wave of his hand, a jade talisman landed there, and Xiaohua fled again. After half a cup of tea's worth of time, he reappeared at another location and threw out another jade talisman. After walking like this for more than half a day, Xiaohua threw out the 358 jade talismans that he had already comprehended. Only then did he land again. He arrived at the side of the first jade talisman, and after a few dozen feet to the side, he arrived at the location of a yuan stone lode. Xiaohua closed his eyes, activated his magic power, and rubbed his hands together. Wisps of brilliance flashed, and one after another, he formed hand seals. The surrounding yuan qi of heaven and earth quickly rushed toward the yuan stone lode, and on the surface of the yuan stone lode, a rune flashed with earthen yellow brilliance. After a full cup of tea's worth of time, Xiaohua clenched his hand and chanted, "Quick!" Brilliant light overflowed in all directions as strands of hair-like crystal light appeared, covering an area of nearly 100 feet. Without waiting for the crystal light to disappear, Xiaohua slapped his hand on the top of his head again, and the hand of his nascent soul appeared once more. Rumble! As if the earth was quaking and the mountains were shaking, the crystal light rushed toward the location of the jade talisman. However, the crystal light only rushed a few feet before it suddenly flew downwards, and didn't fly straight toward the jade talisman. "Ayo, what's going on?" Xiaohua was shocked, but he didn't dare to be distracted. Now was the crucial moment, and if he couldn't get the crystal light to fall into the jade talisman, all his previous efforts would be wasted. Not only could he not use the nodes of the array, but all the nodes of the jade talisman would have to be changed. "Rise!" Xiaohua urged his magic power, and the hand of his nascent soul let out a rumbling sound. He grasped the crystal light with great difficulty and rushed toward the jade talisman. However, although Xiaohua had already urged the hand of his nascent soul, there seemed to be a suction force even stronger than the hand of his nascent soul, and it was fighting with the hand of his nascent soul for the crystal light. Damn it, strange things happen every year, but this year there are especially many. Could it be that there's something strange under this yuan stone mine? Xiaohua was very helpless, but now that things had come to this, he could only brace himself and try his best to control the hand of his nascent soul. Fortunately, although he consumed a lot of magic power, Xiaohua still sent the crystal light into the jade talisman. When the crystal light rushed into the jade talisman shone brightly, like a brilliant sun, and merged with the yuan stone mine that Xiaohua had previously refined. Good. Xiaohua finally let out a sigh of relief and wiped the beads of sweat on his forehead. Soon after, Xiaohua lowered his head to look at the solid layer of earth below him, and a kind of surprise appeared in his eyes. Now that Xiaohua had the strength of a spirit-severing stage cultivator, it could be said that he was a master of a region. His nascent soul's hand could be easily resisted by a genuine 5th-grade cultivator. So how could there be a suction force for no reason under this yuan stone mine? Xiao Hua had the intention to first arrange the capital star formation and then go down to explore, but thinking about how much magic power it would consume to arrange more than 300 places, this was not something that could be easily dealt with. After thinking for a while, Xiao Hua urged the Earth Escape technique to go down the Yuan Stone Mine. After traveling for the time it took to eat a meal, Xiao Hua was afraid that he had already traveled several thousand meters underground. A kind of enormous buoyancy gradually appeared around Xiao Hua's body and began to prevent Xiao Hua from traveling any further. Xiao Hua understood that he was about to reach the limit of Earth Escape. However, when he reached this place, he still didn't see anything special. Xiao Hua was completely bewildered. After all, he was several thousand feet underground. Even if he was on the ground, it was still the height of a mountain. At such a high distance, when the world was affecting him from arranging the formation. After thinking for a while, Xiao Hua's eyes flashed with a faint blue brilliance, and the delirium destruction technique I slowly opened. When Xiao Hua raised his eyes to look around, he couldn't help but be stunned, and then a kind of indescribable ecstasy welled up in his heart. In the delirium destruction technique, within the faint yellow brilliance, strands of black brilliance and strands of fiery red brilliance intertwined with each other, and like a light mist, they fell down from all directions. Xiao Hua's entire body was within this black and red brilliance. And the most strange thing was that these rays of light were not straight, but actually curved and extremely magnificent. They converged at a place far away from Xiao Hua's feet. How familiar this situation was. Wasn't it the same situation when Xiao Hua, who was refining qi, went to the netherworld to gain experience before he reached the foundation establishment stage and saw the metal earth magnetic field? It was just that the brown brilliance had been replaced with black brilliance, and the golden brilliance had been replaced with fiery red brilliance. Moreover, this brilliance was extremely faint and not as dense as the magnetic field near the metal earth magnetic field. And the arc of these rays of light was exactly the same as before. Xiao Hua really couldn't suppress the ecstasy in his heart, because as early as in the sage's Jiang Xianshui Palace, Xian had already transmitted to him the materials used to refine the 5 elements wishful heaven cudgel. These materials were water and fire magnets, wood and water magnets, water and fire magnets, fire and earth magnets, and earth and metal magnets. These 5 types of magnets were extremely heavy, and they reinforced and restrained each other. If the 5 types of magnets were refined together, they could be called one, and the 5 elements could be balanced between each other, no longer being affected by the 5 elements of the outside world, and achieve the goal of not entering the 5 elements. Of course, Xian didn't know how these 5 types of magnets were refined together. At that time, Xiao Hua thought of the metal earth magnetic field in the netherworld of the Dawnrain continent, but he didn't expect that under the Black Cloud Ridge's primordial stone mine, there was actually such a water and fire magnetic field hidden. Since there was such a water and fire magnetic field here, it was reasonable that the Black Cloud Ridge had such a large primordial stone mine. Now that he had discovered the materials used to refine the 5 elements wishful heaven cudgel, how could Xiao Hua be willing to leave? He hurriedly urged his transcendence energy to continue to escape. Sure enough, a moment later, a powerful suction force was generated, pulling the things in Xiao Hua's arms and the small Qingquan bag at his waist. It should be the water and fire magnetic field taking effect. Xiao Hua was overjoyed and hurriedly stored everything into the space. Only then did he continue to escape. Another half a cup of tea later, a layer of pitch-black cloud-like things appeared in front of Xiao Hua's eyes, blocking his escape path. In his transcendence vision, the black and fiery red brilliance had already completely condensed into thin lines, directly rushing through the cloud-like things and falling inside. Based on Xiao Hua's experience, he knew that behind the pitch-black fog was the water and fire magnetic field space. Only this pitch-black fog was rather strange. It could actually appear in his transcendence vision, naturally causing Xiao Hua to be immediately on guard. Xiao Hua closed his transcendence vision and opened his eyes. That black fog had transformed into a kind of viscous liquid. It seemed to be motionless, but from time to time, tiny whirlpools would appear. When Xiao Hua's divine sense swept over, it actually swallowed his divine sense. Oh, this Xiao understands now. Those strange black clouds in the Black Cloud Ridge. I'm afraid they were formed by these pitch-black things seeping out of the ground. Xiao Hua inwardly pondered. If I were to use magic treasures to break through, it would be unrealistic. Now that I'm already close to the water magnetic field space, all magic treasures would be attracted by the magnetic field, basically unable to display their effects. After thinking for a moment, Xiao Hua opened his mouth and a wisp of spiritual fire rushed out. Following Xiao Hua's divine fire art, it immediately transformed into a net of fire and pounced into the black clouds. First, there was the sound of water droplets falling into a pot of oil, followed by waves of what seemed to be howling in the air from within the black fog. Immediately after, within a radius of 1 zhang in front of Xiao Hua, a gap immediately appeared where the spiritual fire rushed in. Once this gap appeared, a powerful suction force immediately came from within the gap. Xiao Hua hastily urged his earth escape technique to rush into the gap. There was actually an extremely large amount of black fog, just like a deep pool. Xiao Hua controlled the spiritual fire to continuously sink down, descending no less than 100 zhang before he finally escaped from the black fog. At this moment, although it was pitch black beneath Xiao Hua's feet, his transcendence vision once again overflowed with light and vibrant colors. Right below Xiao Hua's feet, a long rainbow-like thick fiery red light beam could be seen pushing up the pitch-black fog high up into the sky. Those fiery red light beams converged in the distance. The place in the distance was like an oval sun, slowly rotating. However, this sun was not a single color, but a mixture of fiery red and black. When these two splendors intertwined together, it looked so beautiful and so profound. Wasn't this space precisely the water-fire magnetic field space? Chapter 35-42. Xiao Hua smiled. He had a few drops of metal essence in his space, but they were all used when he was setting up the formation. Now that he was refining it in his meridians, it was far less satisfying than the fire essence flame crystal and earth crystal Yao milk. Now that he had reached the metal and wood magnetism, not to mention the wood essence flame crystal, he also had to get some metal essence flame crystal. Xiao Hua's current cultivation level was far from what the aura refining realm could compare to in the past. It wasn't too difficult for him to activate his magic power. He landed above the metal and wood magnetism and opened his transcendence vision to take a look. The place where Xiao Hua landed was precisely where the wood elemental magnetic field was densely green in color. There were speckles of gold in this green color. Xiao Hua's transcendence vision had already discovered a few spots of newly formed metal elemental vitality essence that were about to fall into the magnetic field. Xiao Hua slapped the top of his head with his hand and used his yuanying hand. However, the suction force within this magnetic field was simply too strong. The yuanying hand had only just appeared when it was immediately torn apart by the enormous suction force. It simply couldn't descend. Haha. Xiao Hua wasn't dispirited. He lowered his body slightly and moved closer to a drop of metal essence. With a wave of his hand, the heaven and earth sleeve technique was used. In an instant, the drop of metal essence was covered. With a turn of his mind, the drop of metal essence was stored into the space. This was many times better than back then. In just the time it took to eat a meal, Xiao Hua actually collected 61 drops of metal essence flame crystal. However, it wouldn't be easy to find more. Xiao Hua looked at the strands of golden light falling on the surface of the metal and wood magnetism, but didn't condense into metal essence flame crystal. He looked pensive. I'm afraid metal essence flame crystal can only be formed when the metal-attributed spiritual energy of heaven and earth has condensed to a certain degree. Previously, I didn't come here, so the surface of the metal and wood magnetism was thick enough. Now that I've collected all the metal essence flame crystal, it can't condense to this degree in a short period of time. It might take a period of time for it to condense again, right? Who? Just as Xiao Hua was pondering, he suddenly became alert. He raised his head and saw a palm-sized azure dragon several zhang away from him. It was looking at him with bared fangs and brandished claws. Its eyes were full of curiosity. Oh my, this is an azure dragon? Xiao Hua suddenly realized. An primordial azure dragon. But without waiting for Xiao Hua to take another look, the azure dragon suddenly pounced into the magnetic field and disappeared. Understand. Xiao Hua's eyes narrowed slightly, as if he had thought of something. This Xiao seems to have seen a faint shadow in Mingxi's magnetic space. At that time, it seemed to be in the metal magnetic space. Thinking of this, Xiao Hua raised his head and looked at the place where the golden and green rays of light converge in the extreme distance. This. Xiao Hua looked at the other side, that even his transcendence vision couldn't see, and sucked in a breath of cold air. How big is this metal and wood magnetism? This Zhao's divine sense is indeed strong enough, and my mind is also being tempered to practice the art of fusing with my divine sense. However, it's impossible for me to absorb the metal and wood elemental magnetism into my space. Forget it. One shouldn't be too greedy as a person. Xiao Hua's mind spun a few times, then he smiled and said, "Let's get some wood essence crystals first. As for the matter of collecting metal and wood essences, let's talk about it later." Soon after, Xiao Hua flew to the other side and collected the same 61 drops of wood essence crystals in the metal magnetic space. Only then did he stop. Sure enough, right after Xiao Hua collected the wood essence serpent crystal, a similarly palm-sized golden tiger flashed out from the air. Looking at Xiao Hua, it roared a few times at Xiao Hua before also pouncing into the magnetic field and disappearing. Seeing the golden tiger enter the magnetic space, Xiao Hua released his divine sense. He wanted to see how big this magnetic space was. Unfortunately, even though he had the strength of a spirit-severing stage expert, his powerful divine sense was still affected by the magnetic force when it was so close to the magnetic space. It was only released 100 zhang before it was torn apart. It was simply unable to go very far. Since even his divine sense couldn't cover the metal and wood essences, Xiao Hua's mind couldn't either. Xiao Hua had to take back his luck and once again regretfully looked at the metal and wood essences that made him drool. Then he prepared to fly out. However, just as he flew under the black chi and his transcendence vision caught sight of the overflowing golden light rays, Xiao Hua felt as if he had forgotten something. Thus, he simply stopped moving forward and simply stood there. His gaze followed the rotation of the golden light rays, and his eyeballs also followed the slow rotation of the metal and wood primary magnetism. After the time it took for an incense stick to burn, Xiao Hua finally came to his senses. He said with a smile, "I was somewhat careless. The wishful steel staff is so heavy, but my mind can collect it without any effort. The load of primordial stones is not particularly heavy, but it can't be easily collected because the wishful steel staff has been tempered. The medium for this tempering is my blood essence. With my blood essence wishful steel staff, I can use it as I wish. I don't need to use my blood essence to collect the primordial stones, but the metal and wood essences are worth it. If I don't have my blood essence with the power of the metal and wood essences, I'm afraid that I can only have the strength to collect them into the space to refine the wishful steel staff, right? This time, it's really a bit too long." Xiao Hua thought of using his blood essence to refine the metal and wood essences, but how could his blood essence be refined into this huge metal and wood essences? Just now, Xiao Hua flew from one end of the wood essences to the other end of the metal essences. It was really difficult. According to Xiao Hua's own measurement, this metal and wood essences was hundreds of acres in size. Even if Xiao Hua used the Demon Realm's blood refining technique, it was impossible to refine this metal and wood essences for the time being, right? The only possibility was to send the metal and wood essences into the space, and let the green-robed Xiaohua or the Jade Archive Xiaohua do it. But since the metal and wood essences could be sent into the space, why bother to use the blood refining technique? Looking at such a huge pie in the sky, Xiaohua scratched his head. However, he still frowned and pondered carefully. With his Dharma eyes, he saw strands of golden light shooting out from one part of the golden light, forming an arc in the magnetic space, then landing on the other end of the green light. Meanwhile, strands of green light flew out from the green light and landed on the golden light. These golden and green light strands then intertwined with each other on the surface of the metal and wood magnetic space, ceaselessly interweaving with each other. Maybe I can try this. Xiaohua's eyes fell on the glittering metal essences pole, and an incredible idea appeared in his heart. Thinking of this, Xiaohua once again urged his transcendence energy to fly towards the pole of the metal essences pole. However, the closer he got to the pole, the earlier attractive force turned into a kind of repulsive force, and this repulsive force became even stronger. It made Xiaohua feel that even if he exhausted all the transcendence energy in his body, he absolutely couldn't get close to the pole of the metal essences pole. Helpless, Xiaohua had no choice but to use the metal escape technique. It was fine if he didn't use the metal escape technique, but when he used it, Xiaohua felt as if his body was in a surging torrent. His entire body couldn't help but want to fly towards the other end of the metal essences pole with the golden light. Damn it, wrong. It should be the wood escape technique. Xiaohua suddenly realized and hurriedly changed to the wood escape technique. Sure enough, Xiaohua's body came to a sudden stop, and then his entire body rapidly flew towards the pole of the metal essences pole. There was simply no need for Xiaohua to urge any transcendence energy. Good. Xiaohua beamed with joy, but unfortunately, it was only for a moment. When Xiaohua's body was about 100 feet away from the pole, his body stopped again, and that strange repulsive force reappeared. The more Xiaohua urged his transcendence energy, the stronger the repulsive force became. Yes, this is the repulsive force of the metal essences pole. Xiaohua already understood these few changes. Although I am using the wood escape technique, my transcendence energy is still within the 5 elements. Since it is within the 5 elements, it has the metal attribute, and it will be repulsed by the pole of the metal essences pole, unless I have transcendence energy with no element. I don't know if transcendence energy without any element exists in this world, but I know that there is a physical body without any element. After understanding the reason, Xiaohua didn't dare to urge any more transcendence energy. He also thought of the spiritual fire and the innate primordial water. After all, these were pure objects of the 5 elements, and they could conceal the 5 elements within his transcendence energy. However, the corner of his mouth only curled up, and he simply didn't urge any transcendence energy and directly landed on the metal essences pole. Sure enough, after withdrawing all his transcendence energy, Xiaohua no longer felt any repulsive or attractive force. He already knew why his so-called demigod body could approach the metal essences pole, and why Mo Qingyuan and the others couldn't approach the metal essences pole even though they knew that it was there. It was because his physical body didn't have any element. Of course, the current Xiaohua didn't know that his physical body didn't have any element because it absorbed the primal chaos chi when it floated down from the void. After walking a few dozen meters, the repulsive force appeared again. However, this repulsive force was directed at Xiaohua's clothes, so it didn't attract Xiaohua's attention. Just as he was about to reach the limit, Xiaohua's Taoist robe began to flutter due to the magnetic force. Although Xiaohua didn't care, it was really uncomfortable. He might as well go all the way. Xiaohua put away his Taoist robe and became naked again. When he reached the extreme point, Xiaohua didn't dare to open his transcendence energy eyes again. The golden light of the extreme point was really too dazzling, and Xiaohua's transcendence energy eyes were aching. It was difficult to continue. When Xiao Hua's naked eye reached this point, it didn't have a usual effect of producing light in the dark, so he couldn't see anything. Therefore, Xiao Hua simply closed his eyes and groped his way to the extreme point. He activated the blood drop paradise technique in his body, and a drop of blood essence dripped from his finger and landed on the extreme point. The drop of blood fell. Shua, an almost inaudible sound was heard, and the 5 elements objects within the drop of blood immediately flew out. It was simply impossible to touch the extreme point, and the drop of blood instantly shrunk several times. This even finer drop of blood slowly fell, and it was several times slower than usual. The golden magnetic light passed through this drop of blood, and the entire drop of blood slightly swelled, as if it was boiling. Every time it swelled, the drop of blood would shrink in size. When the drop of blood reached the extreme point, it had already turned into an extremely small drop, even smaller than the tip of a needle. At this moment, how could the drop of blood still look like a drop of blood? Although there was still a little red, the golden color was even denser, and this golden color was formed by countless, even finer golden threads. In a trance, this golden thread actually formed Xiao Hua's image, and that little red dot seemed to be a dark red dot between the image's eyebrows. Chapter 35:43. The moment the drop of blood landed on the pole, it was silent and formless. Neither the entire metal and wood elemental magnetic field nor the magnetic field space had any obvious changes. However, Xiao Hua clearly sensed that his blood had penetrated to the extreme. Even though he didn't know that so many changes had occurred during the process of his blood dripping down, Xiao Hua didn't know that his blood had penetrated to the extreme. Good. Xiao Hua cheered inwardly. He urged the transcendence energy in his body and used the metal escape technique. His entire body was pushed out of the pole as fast as lightning, straight to the top of the magnetic field space. Xiao Hua stood still in midair and opened his abnormally tired transcendence eyes again. He looked at the golden rays of light flying out of the pole of the metal elemental magnetic field. After looking at it for a long time, he still couldn't see anything strange. Could it be that the drop of blood didn't enter the pole? With that thought, the demonic aura around Xiao Hua's body flourished. Strands of black aura mixed with black flames rushed out again. The real devil god, Xiao Hua, appeared again. In the past, Xiao Hua didn't have demonic aura to rely on. His divine sense urged the spiritual fire to use the blood refining technique. Now that Xiao Hua had truly practiced the blood-dripping paradise, this blood-refining technique was also authentic. However, the demon god Xiao Hua's black flames surged and landed on the extreme point like tentacles. There was no movement at the extreme point. The blood-refining technique was not effective at all. Motherfucker, what's going on? After thinking for a while, Xiao Hua flew to the pole of the wood elemental magnetic field to be on the safe side. Similarly, he sent another drop of blood essence into it. Then, he used the blood refining technique again. Unfortunately, this time he still failed. After losing 2 drops of blood essence at once, Xiao Hua felt a wave of fatigue. His left arm had been chopped off by the demonic saber in the mysterious water palace. Although the demonic saber hadn't been able to devour the bone in his left arm was still reattached. Moreover, the demonic saber was also attached to his left arm. However, his essence was damaged after all. After returning, he was injured again in the battle against the 5 brocade cloud painting. The 100 days of secluded cultivation just now really weren't enough. His essence hadn't recovered very well. The exhausted Xiao Hua felt somewhat helpless. He closed his eyes and wanted to sense it, but in this magnetic field space, this kind of perception was also blocked. Xiao Hua clearly knew that his blood had entered the metal elemental magnetic field. Even the blood refining technique he had placed high hopes on couldn't succeed. As for whether his blood essence would work, he had no idea. However, even if it works, how can I use the blood refining technique on such a large metal elemental magnetic field? Obviously, Ordinary blood refining techniques are already useless. Who knows where those 2 drops of blood essence went? Facing such a large metal and wood magnetism, Xiao Hua could be considered to be completely helpless. Forget it. I'll return empty-handed again today. Xiao Hua stood in the magnetic field space and pondered for a long time. He really didn't have any clue. All the techniques he used were greatly restricted in this magnetic field space. It was useless to stay here any longer. Xiao Hua immediately came out of the magnetic field space. He used his spiritual fire to burn a hole in the black gas and escape from the ground. The metal elemental magnetic field itself was protected by the magnetic field space. Now that it was wrapped in an unpredictable black gas, Xiao Hua believed that even if someone discovered this place, they wouldn't be able to enter. He also wasn't worried that the metal elemental magnetic field would be taken away by others. When Xiao Hua escaped back to the elemental stone vein, he didn't have much magic power left, and his spirit was also very tired. He swallowed a few medicinal pills and closed his eyes to meditate. In the following dozens of days, Xiao Hua rested while setting up the formation. Although setting up the formation under the influence of the metal elemental magnetic field was very tiring and consumed a lot of magic power, with the support of the new metal elemental essence and the nourishment of the 5 Qi righteous thunder, the greedy Xiao Hua would be full of energy every time he thought about the elemental stone vein below him. When the 300-plus light balls folded and became one with the elemental stone vein, Xiao Hua let out a long breath. After resting for several hours, he urged his magic power to rush out of the black cloud ridge and flew high into the sky. He first closed his eyes for a moment, then sat cross-legged in the sky. He clapped his hands, and the formless nascent soul escaped from the 5 Qi righteous thunder in his lower dantian. This was the first time Xiao Hua had set up such a large formation. He didn't dare to let green-robed Xiao Hua do it, and specially controlled it himself. The nascent soul rubbed its hands together and formed seals one after another. Waves of dense elemental energy of heaven and earth descended from the sky and bombarded the surroundings of the black cloud ridge. The majestic aura was not inferior to the noble Qi pillar used by the Confucian cultivators. The demons of the black cloud ridge turned pale with fright. They all held their weapons and rushed out of the ground. Even the Tao soldiers that were training in the black cloud ridge hurriedly set up the formation and prepared to face the enemy. However, when the crowd and demons saw Xiao Hua sitting cross-legged in midair with a myriad of brilliance around his body, they all subconsciously prostrated themselves and slowly retreated, not daring to disturb him. Xiao Hua's nascent soul couldn't be seen by others. They could only see Xiao Hua sitting in the sky with his palms facing the sky. He didn't make any movements, but he was actually able to raise the wind and move the clouds. Rays of golden light were emitted from Xiao Hua's body, and pillars of qi struck the ground. Following the brilliance and pillars of qi, lumps of sparkling stars were also born near the black cloud ridge. More and more time passed. The sky was already dark. However, the stars of the black cloud ridge contrasted with the stars in the sky. Xiao Hua, who was surrounded by stars, was even brighter than the full moon in the sky. At this time, Xiao Hua's figure could no longer be seen. There was only a 5-color dazzling light that slowly rotated there. Every time this dazzling light rotated, a ray of light would fall to the ground and another star would appear on the ground. More than 350 nodes of the capital star formation had to be activated, and the balance of the formation had to be maintained during each activation. This was far more convenient than using several hundred jade talismans. Xiao Hua didn't dare to slack off in the slightest. The magic power in his body also didn't dare to stagnate in the slightest. However, when the moon set and the sun rose, the formation had only just finished setting up nearly 100 nodes. At this time, the pitiful and fearless Xiao Hua was really riding a tiger and couldn't get off. How could he know that the formation he was setting up right now was a sect protection formation commonly used by cultivation sections? Not to mention that this formation was the rarely seen capital star formation. Even if it was an ordinary formation, how could it be set up by a nascent soul cultivator? However, all the elders of sect would work together, and each of them would be responsible for a part of the formation. In the end, the sect leader or elder with the highest cultivation or formation attainment would preside over the activation of the formation. How could it be set up by a single person? After waiting for another half a day, Xiaohua's energy was really unable to support himself. He had no choice but to call out the green-robed Xiaohua and temporarily let him control his nascent soul to continue setting up the formation. The green-robed Xiaohua seemed to be omnipotent in the space. However, when he arrived at the hidden immortal continent, he was unable to make ends meet. He was indeed somewhat unfamiliar with setting up the formation. There were several dangerous mistakes. It wasn't that the green-robed Xiaohua's ability to set up the formation was inferior to Xiaohua's, but the green-robed Xiaohua really couldn't endure the lack of origin qi on the hidden immortal continent. He had fallen into a predicament where even the cleverest housewife couldn't cook without rice. After helping the green-robed Xiaohua set up several nodes, Xiaohua simply closed his eyes and rested. After another half a day, Xiaohua opened his eyes and waved his hands. He separated some magic power from his meridians and prepared to set up the formation. Who would have thought that when he separated his true essence, the green-robed Xiaohua on top of his head slowed down again? This scared the green-robed Xiaohua so much that he forcefully took away his true essence. Alas, Xiaohua sighed. Previously, when the green-robed Xiaohua controlled his nascent soul to fight against the 5 brocade cloud painting, Xiaohua only relied on the power of his corporeal body. The two of them didn't have any conflict. Now that the two of them were activating their magic power together, there was a problem with their coordination. Therefore, Xiaohua didn't dare to intercept true essence from his meridians. He was somewhat bored as he looked at the green-robed Xiaohua setting up the formation. He couldn't help but think in his heart, now that the nascent soul and the corporeal body are using the same meridians, there will definitely be a conflict. If the nascent soul cultivates its own 100 meridians and the corporeal body cultivates according to my sect's cultivation method, then the nascent soul has its own true essence. Wouldn't the corporeal body also have its own true essence? Wouldn't there be no conflict like this? Other people's nascent souls only have 2 meridians, but my nascent soul is made up of meridians. It can definitely cultivate. It's a pity. Just when Xiaohua was feeling regretful, he suddenly stared blankly. His eyes lit up and he thought, now that I'm using the 5 qi righteous thunder to nourish my nascent soul, isn't that just walking the path of nascent soul cultivation? If there's any cultivation method, I'll let the green-robed nascent soul cultivate, and I'll cultivate the sect's cultivation method myself. But that's also not right. Ultimately, the sect cultivation method is also based on the nascent soul. If I don't have a nascent soul, how can I cultivate? The more Xiaohua thought, the more confused he became. Then, naturally, there was no then. Xiaohua had always had this kind of wild imagination. Most of them ended up with nothing. However, if he was really able to understand it, then it would be a world-shaking action. Rumble. Another day and night passed. The green-robed Xiaohua was finally tired. Xiaohua took control of his nascent soul. As he waved his hands, there was actually the sound of wind and thunder. Since the second night in the sky, between the layers of thick clouds that had shrouded the black cloud ridge, flashes of lightning and thunder began to appear. As Xiaohua laid down the last few dozen nodes, the heavenly thunder was also drumming at the side to cheer him on. Xiaohua didn't pay attention to this kind of astronomical phenomenon. After all, he had laid down such a big formation, which consumed a lot of heaven and earth yuan qi. The heaven and earth yuan qi around the black cloud ridge was starting to become scarce. The heaven and earth yuan qi from other places would definitely cause a certain astronomical phenomenon. The last few dozen nodes were even more difficult. Xiaohua felt as if he was walking on a narrow cliff. On his shoulders was a heavy burden that exceeded his strength. That burden swayed, one moment in front, one moment in back, one moment in left, one moment in right. If he wasn't careful, he would fall off the cliff. It was really tiring. The people and demons of the Black Cloud Ridge were all dumbfounded. The situation in front of them was even more dazzling than the 5 brocade cloud painting previously. The entire Black Cloud Ridge was completely enveloped by hundreds of starlight. A kind of heavenly might, an unstoppable feeling, surged over like waves after waves, as if it was going to drown them. Many of the Fey spirits and Dao soldiers with lower cultivations fell limp on the ground. Although Xiao Jian, Qin Xiaoyao, and the others could withstand it, their hearts were in suspense. They were afraid that if Xiao Hua was careless, the formation would collapse, and everyone would be killed by the formation. Chapter 35-44. Fortunately, the disaster they were worried about didn't happen. After 2 days and 2 nights, the formless nascent soul waved its hand, and more than 300 bolts of lightning shot down like dragons. The entire Black Cloud Ridge shook. Then, more than 300 rays of light shot up into the sky and intertwined in midair. Xiao Hua shouted, "Suppress!" All of the brilliance entered his hand at the same time, and all of the vibrations disappeared completely. In Xiao Hua's hand, there was another jade tablet that looked like a stone tablet. It was covered with stars, and its brilliance was brilliant. Congratulations to Master for setting up the array. Congratulations to Master for the good health of your body. The demons and cultivators of Black Cloud Ridge looked at the clouds and the moon in the sky. Then they saw that the entire Black Cloud Ridge didn't change at all. Seeing that they couldn't use their divine senses or elemental senses, they all knelt down and cheered loudly. Xiao Hua looked at everyone and waved his hand. "Wait here. Now that my Black Cloud Ridge's array is complete, it's even more impregnable than before. You can cultivate in peace." "Thank you, Master." Everyone got up and went to do their own things. "Xiaoyao, you're in charge of this mountain-suppressing spirit tablet. All the uses are recorded in the jade eyes," Xiao Hua said as he threw the jade tablet to Qin Xiaoyao. Qin Xiaoyao took the jade tablet under everyone's envious gaze and bowed. "Disciple understands." Then, Xiao Hua didn't say anything else and went into his cave to cultivate in seclusion. This heavenly stars array made Xiao Hua want to cry. Now that he was in the nascent soul realm and had the strength of the 5th grade of elemental energy, he felt that it was still not enough. If it weren't for green-robed Xiao Hua and the metal essence Numero, he would have lost face in front of all the cultivators who called him master. Xiao Hua's seclusion lasted for more than a month. Qin Xiaoyao didn't dare to be negligent after taking the jade tablet. He first comprehended the usage of the jade tablet and the jade eyes that Xiao Hua gave him. Then, he arranged the human cultivator's defense and cultivation and discussed the demon's defense with the black bear spirit, the golden eagle, and the white lion. He was very busy. Previously, the black bear spirit and the other demons did not pay much attention to Qin Xiaoyao. However, after seeing Xiao Hua setting up the array and witnessing the power of the 5 brocade cloud portrait, they had no choice but to listen to Qin Xiaoyao's arrangements for the sake of their own lives. Fortunately, Qin Xiaoyao knew Xiao Hua's plan and knew how to deal with people, so he didn't have any conflicts with the 3 demon kings. In this month or so, the aftermath of Xiao Hua's battle that made him famous gradually revealed itself. Not only did the scattered cultivators and Dao soldiers of the Jiang country come over to seek refuge, even other rogue cultivators or Dao sect cultivators who wanted to find a backer came over to strike up a conversation. Of course, some students and rangers from the Confucian cultivator country also began to come over to spy, but in the face of Xiao Hua's mountain protecting Grand Array, most of them returned without success. This was just a small disturbance before the storm. Qin Xiaoyao knew very well that all he could do was help Xiao Hua build the Fortune Gate and fulfill the responsibility of an outer sect disciple of the Fortune Gate. What he urgently wanted was for the Chongling princess and Xiao Jian to act as soon as possible, gather the old subordinates of Jiang country, recruit soldiers, and reclaim Jiang country as soon as possible. This way, the pressure on Black Cloud Ridge would lessen. However, reviving the country was not a small matter. How could it be done just by thinking about it? The Chongling princess was busy day and night, and Xiao Jian was also working hard to assist her. Every day, he saw the two generals Qian Li and Kong Li send out soldiers, and at the same time, he saw the soldiers sent out in the past come back. But to what extent they had progressed, and how much confidence they had, not to mention Qin Xiaoyao, even the Chongling princess herself didn't know. However, both Qin Xiaoyao and the Chongling princess were full of confidence now. They never thought that there would be any problems with the Fortune Gate or any problems with the revival of Jiang country, because they knew that as long as Xiao Hua was present, all of this was just a matter of time. All of the problems in front of Xiao Hua's cultivation were as easy as snapping a finger. Everything seemed to be proceeding in an orderly manner. On this day, Xiao Hua emerged from seclusion. In the past month or so, Xiao Hua had not only recovered his cultivation, but also comprehended secret techniques. Most of the time, he was considering what to do next. Since the great formation of Black Cloud Ridge had been set up, and Xiao Hua was confident that this great formation could withstand the attacks of cultivators of 5th or even 6th level, then he could leave Black Cloud Ridge and go to Qinyu Mountain to rescue Jiang country's second national teacher, Li Xiang. After all, Li Xiang had been a national teacher before and had more experience than him. Especially when Li Xiang was a Yuanine cultivator, he could be a deterrent when he left Black Cloud Ridge. This must have been Qin Xiaoyao's plan when he told him about Li Xiang's imprisonment in the Qinyu Mountain. As expected, when Xiao Hua walked out of the seclusion room, Lu Yi, who was waiting in the abode, came forward to greet him. He said that Qin Xiaoyao had already come several times and seemed to have important matters to report. Let Qin Xiaoyao come in. Xiao Hua nodded. Not long after, Qin Xiaoyao hurried in, bowed in greeting, and then asked directly, "Old Master, this disciple has 2 matters to report and asks Old Master to decide." "Speak," Xiao Hua asked with a smile. First of all, after Master set up the spell formation, many Taoist cultivators came to seek refuge. Those with low cultivation bases didn't need to be mentioned. When I saw those with good aptitudes, I discussed with them to see if they were willing to become Master's disciples. Of course, this disciple does not dare to say that he is a Fortune Gate disciple, and only says that he is a disciple of the Jiang country's national teacher. If he is not willing to become a disciple of Old Master and wants to rely on Old Master, disciple will follow the customs of the Jiang country and treat him as a guest. Qin Xiaoyao reported, there are also some with higher cultivations, and there are even a few with higher cultivations than disciple and the others. Although disciple has treated these people as guests, it seems that they are still a little dissatisfied. Oh, what's there to be dissatisfied about? Xiao Hua was puzzled. Many of those cultivators of the Tao sect are at the 3rd level of origin energy. They feel that their cultivation is high, and they want more, such as origin stones and pills. Qin Xiaoyao's brows revealed a worried expression. It was obvious that these cultivators who could be considered his seniors were making things difficult for him. Xiao Hua sneered. Don't bother. If they want to stay in the Black Cloud Ridge, then they have to listen to you. If they don't want to, they can leave. There's no need to force them to stay. If they can leave, disciple doesn't have to be so worried. Qin Xiaoyao smiled bitterly. Old Master's great array is really good. After they saw it, they insisted on staying in the Black Cloud Ridge. Kill them. Xiao Hua made a prompt decision and said indifferently, "You control the Great Mountain Protection Array's spirit tablet and can control the power of the array. As long as you are in the array, you can kill anyone you want. There is no need to report this to this old man." That's not good, right? Qin Xiaoyao was a little hesitant. They are after all disciples of the Tao sect, and some of them even came from afar to seek refuge with Old Master. Since they want to seek refuge with this old man, then they have to listen to this old man's arrangements. Xiao Hua waved his hand. You are in charge of the great array, and are someone this old man trusts. If they don't even listen to you, what's the point of keeping them? Yes, old master, disciple understands. It wasn't that Qin Xiaoyao hadn't thought about this, but he knew that Xiao Hua was merciful. He was afraid that Xiao Hua would be dissatisfied with his actions, so he naturally had to report it. Also, old master, there's news from the Jade Mountain that a few Confucian cultivators have personally come to the Jade Mountain. They probably want to wait for old master to go there. Senior Li's matter. Why don't we talk about it later? Qin Xiaoyao bit his lips and asked in a low voice. No need. This Xiao came out of seclusion today for this matter. Xiao Hua stood up and said, I will leave everything in the Black Cloud Ridge to you. Helping this old man look after the cave is a great merit. Xiao Hua will definitely reward you when he returns. Old master, hearing that Xiao Hua had given the Black Cloud Ridge to him, Qin Xiaoyao was not happy, but rather shocked and anxiously shouted, This disciple was a disciple who escaped from Jiang country. Although his cultivation is the best, but it is not enough to convince the masses. Why don't you give the cave to Lu, Yi, or Wang Bianfei? The two of them are old master's servants. No one dares to say anything. The two of them want to go with me, Xiao Hua said with a smile. Lu, Yi, and Wang Bianfei were overjoyed and knelt down. Thank you, old master. Qin Xiaoyao smiled bitterly, biting his lips, and went forward again. Old master, if it is like this, why don't we ask the Chongling princess or Xiao Jian to give orders? Right now, they are in charge of Jiang country's restoration plan. It is the most important matter for my Black Cloud Ridge. It's different, Xiao Hua said firmly. Jiang country is Jiang country. Black Cloud Ridge is Black Cloud Ridge. Fortune Gate is Fortune Gate. We cannot be too confused. Also, Xiao Jian and Chongling's affairs are even more complicated. How can it be better than you practicing the formation and looking after the cave for this old man? But Qin Xiaoyao still wanted to say something. But how could Xiao Hua be willing to listen? He waved his hand and said, Xiaoyao, if you don't want this old man to save Li Xiang, you can tell me the reason this old man can listen. If you don't have such thoughts, this old man will leave now. This old man wants to see what methods the Copper Pillar country has to stop this old man from helping Jiang country restore. Yes, old master. Qin Xiaoyao agreed helplessly. He knew that the burden on his shoulders was getting heavier. Lu Yi, where are the books from the Copper Pillar Academy? Xiao Hua asked as he walked out of the cave. Old master, they are all here. Hearing this, Lu Yi hurriedly took out a Chinquan bag from his waist and answered, The Copper Pillar Academy sent a lot of books. This little one originally wanted to put these books in the seclusion room. But seeing that the seclusion room is far away, this little one asked Sect Uncle Qin to put the books into this Chinquan bag for old master to inspect. Not bad. Xiao Hua received it with a smile and sent it into the space. After leaving the cave, Xiao Hua said to Wang Bianfei, Bianfei, go tell your mother that you are going out with this old man, at least 3 months, at most half a year. Yes, old master. Wang Bianfei did not dare to be negligent and hurriedly ran out. In the time it took to brew a cup of tea, he came back that you're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.